ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णाप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे श्री चैतन्य मनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपा कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरु श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरुन् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगना रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्ण चैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगना ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च हे कृष्णा करुणा सिन्धु दीनबन्धु जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमोस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वंचाकल्पतरुभ्यस्य कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय। सर्वशास्त्रादि पीयूष सर्ववैदिक सत्फल सर्वसिद्धांत रत्नाध्य सर्वलौकिक दृक्प्रद सर्वभागवत प्राण श्रीमद्भागवतो प्रभु कलिद्वंतोतिदादित्य श्री कृष्ण परिवर्तिता परमानंद पाथाय प्रेम वर्ष अक्षराय ते सर्वद सर्वसेवाय श्री कृष्णाय नमोस्तुते मद एक बंधु मद संगीन मद गुरुन् मन महाधन मन निस्तारक मन भाग्य मद आनंद नमोस्तुते असाधु साधु तादाइन अति नीचोतता कर हाना मुंचा कदाचिन मां प्रेम न रित कंथयो स्पुरः। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायण नमस्कृत्यं नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरये। नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तम श्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी। शृण्वतां सतथा कृष्ण पुण्य श्रवण कीर्तनम हृद्यन्तस्त भद्राणि विधुनोति सुहृत्सताम्। ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय। Hare Krishna. So thank you all dear devotees for joining. So let's start. We are going to start with a very sweet section of the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is we are going to talk about Krishna's pastimes. So it's always very sweet. And of all pastimes, the childhood pastimes are actually very, very sweet. Right. So we are going to start off with Krishna's childhood pastimes. And this is actually in the section of the Srimad Bhagavatam where Brahma is actually describing out of his own heart. Right. So we read this in the last verse of the previous chapter, that it wasn't a question that Narad Muni asked, but just out of his own heart, he's actually inspired to speak directly about the different Leela avatars. And in this chapter, we talked about like so many different Leela avatars. I think up to this point, we have covered. We started off with Varaha, then Suyagya, Kapila, Dattatreya, four Kumaras, Narnarayan Rishi, Prishnigarbha, Prithu Maharaj, Rishabdev, right? Hayagriva, horse and the incarnation, Matsya, Kurma, Narsimhadev, Hari, that's the personality who appeared to Gajendra, right? Hari, Vamana Dev, Hamsa Avatar, Manvantara Avatar, Dhanvantri, Parshuram, and the last three verses that we discussed was on Lord Ramchandra. Okay, so now the next 10 verses of this chapter is going to talk about the pastimes of Lord Sri Krishna. So even if you see how, like, Brahma has most of the incarnations just one verse, right? But then when he actually comes to Vamanadev, there are two verses, right? And then when he comes to Gajendra, the Hari personality, there are two verses. But then when he comes to Lord Ramchandra, there are three verses. And then for Krishna, there are 10 verses in Krishna's pastimes. Okay. So we're going to start with Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 7, text number 26. Right? So we're going to discuss 10 verses of Krishna's pastimes. And as I mentioned earlier, this is basically giving a trailer of the pastimes that we are going to cover in the rest of the Srimad Bhagavatam. So basically, this particular section is giving a trailer of the 10th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Okay, so let's start with text number 26. Do we have a list? Does anyone have any comments or questions at this point? Okay. Okay. Ratnalika, you want to start?
Text 26. Me sureta vimarditaya klesha vyayaya kalaya sita Krishna keshaha jata karishyati jananupalakshya margaha karmani chatma mahimopanibandhanani. Arundhati Mataji?
Yes, Mr. Hare Krishna. Translation. When the world is overburdened by the fighting strength of kings who have no faith in God, the Lord, just to diminish the distress of the world, descends with his plenary portion. The Lord comes in his original form with beautiful black hair, and just to expand his transcendental glories, he acts extraordinarily. No one can properly estimate how great he is. Hare Krishna.
Okay, so if you see, we'll go through a Sanskrit. So this is the first verse, and this verse actually talks of the Krishna's pastimes, and the first verse talks about Krishna's appearance, right? And we don't yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata, right? And paritranaya sadhana vinashaya tadushkritam. So when in the 10th canto, how does it start off? By actually the first chapter of the 10th canto says how Mother Earth, she was overburdened by so much sinful activities by the kings. And then she actually, in the form of a cow, approached Brahma, and then Brahma actually, they went with the demigods. They actually chant the Purusha Sukta prayers in the Shira ocean to actually call for the Lord to personally descend, right? So similarly here in the sale, the verse starts with Bhume. Bhume means of the entire world, and Sura Itara. Sura means what? The demigods or the devotees. Itara means the person who are not the demigods or basically the demons, right? So the entire world was actually vimarditaya. It is distressed by the burden caused by this Sura Itara, right? And then that has caused to klesha. Klesha is a common word we see. Klesha means miseries, right? And then because the bhume was overburdened by these miseries caused by the Sura Itaraha, then what did the Lord do? Vyayaya, for the matter of diminishing, right? Diminishing, he himself appeared. So Kalaya, along with his plenary expansion. So who is Krishna's plenary expansion, or the first expansion of Krishna is Balaram, right? So the first expansion of Krishna is Balaram. So it says Krishna along with Kalaya, right? Is Balaram, Sita Krishna, right? So it's interesting, like when Krishna's descent is actually described, there are so many aspects of Krishna that can be actually used. Brahma could have spoken of to describe the descent of Krishna, but particularly here he uses the word Sita Krishna, right? So where actually Sita Krishna means not only beautiful but also black, and Kesha means hair, right? So this is basically saying that how Krishna, he actually descends in a very beautiful form with black hair. Now it is strange that someone would actually describe, oh, this personality has come and he has black hair. Now, what is so special about black hair? Someone may say, like, yes, people have black hair. What is so special? What makes Krishna so unique? So Prabhupada actually makes this point in the purport, and he actually says, and even Jiva Goswami extensively comments on this point, that why Brahma actually selected the Lord comes in his original form with beautiful black hair. Why actually this point has been elaborated. So I'll come to that, but let's just go through the rest of the verse. And then it says, okay, Jataha, he appeared, and then Karishyati would act in such a way that people in general, Janaha, people in general, Anupalaksha. Anupalaksha means rarely to be seen, right? So he will come and he will act in such a way that the general people will actually, one way you can say it will be rare for them to see such activities, or it is rare to be seen with such activities. And Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur actually says, when he uses the word Anupalaksha Marga, Anupalaksha Marga means he actually apart only those who are actually in Raganuga Bhakti. Anupalaksha Marga means path. Only those who are actually practicing this mood of Raganuga Bhakti can really see those activities of Lord Shri Krishna. Okay, so the Anupalaksha. So those activities, particularly this childhood pastimes of Lord Shri Krishna, is actually very, very rare to be seen. Even devotees of different grades cannot see those activities. Only those who are actually on the marga, on the path of Raganuga Bhakti, can actually really appreciate those activities. And hence the word Anupalaksha Marga. Right? Okay. Now, let's come back to the point of why beautiful black hair. So Prabhupada actually explains the point in the purport that the personality is actually expressed in beautiful black hair in terms of that. Prabhupada, first point he actually says that when Krishna appeared, he actually showed pastimes here on earth for 125 years. Right? 125 years he was actually showing the pastimes of earth. But even like Prabhupada often in classes also mentions this point that when Krishna was fighting on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, he was, over 100 years, right? Over 100 years. But even at that time, we never see a photo of Krishna with white hair. With white hair. He's always has that beautiful blackish complexion. So if you remember in the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, when we read about Bhishma Stuti, right? And then there was this entire point where how Bhishma Dev, right? When he actually had those arrows, and I won't go into details, but how Krishna finally he took up the chariot wheel and then he was running towards Bhishma Dev. When at that time, in the Bhagavatam also it is described that how the beautiful black hair of Krishna was actually covered with the dust from the earth when Krishna was running towards Bhishma carrying the chariot wheel. So even at the time of Kurukshetra, when the battle was going on, when Krishna was over 100 years, still he had the beautiful black hair. So Prabhupada is using that point and making the point that Krishna actually, when he appears in his original spiritual or eternal form. And hence he's never subjected to anything of this material world. So the first point that actually when Krishna descends is actually made is Krishna comes in a transcendental form. Atma Maya, Bhagavad Gita says, right? By his own, from his own spiritual form, he actually appears in his own spiritual form. So that's the point that Prabhupada focuses on. And then he also quotes that verse, Advaitam Achyutam Anadim Ananta Rupam Adyam Purana Purusham Navayovanam. So that line is so nice. Adyam Purana, right? So he's very, very old. Who can be older than Krishna? In one sense, that who can be, Krishna is eternal. He is the source of everyone. So that way he's Purana, but still he is always what? Nava Yovanamcha. Nava Yovanamcha means he's always at that age of 16 years old. He doesn't grow beyond 16 years old, and hence he is always with beautiful black hair. Right. So that is the description of Krishna. Okay, and then Okay, so that's this verse. So Prabhupada in the purport, it talks about how this verse is talking how Krishna and Balaram, they actually appear, and this is described, right? Okay, and Prabhupada says, when we talk of Krishna, we always refer to Krishna with his energies. And with his energies, there are two kinds. One is his own personal expansions, and one is the differential expansions. So the personal expansions are who? The own Vishnu Tattva. All the different expansions are Vishnu Tattva. And what are the differential expansions who are part and parcel? That is the Jiva Tattva. Right, so Lord Krishna, so two main distinctions. Personal expansions are Vishnu Tattva, differential expansions are Jiva Tattva. And in those expansions, the first expansion of Krishna is who? Lord Balaram. Right, Lord Balaram. So how Krishna and Balaram, they appear. Right? Okay. 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 And also Prabhupada refers to how we are actually in verse number 26 of the seventh chapter. Right? We are discussing the 10 verses describing Lord Krishna's pastime. So Prabhupada in the purport also refers to how in the 6th canto of Bhagavatam, when we are reading the Ajamil pastime, so there also when we are reading Ajamil pastime, we read that how the Vishnu, when he called out Narayan, the Vishnu Dutas actually come. And they tell Yamdutas, stop, you cannot take Ajamil because he has chanted the name of Narayan. At the time, there's description of the Vishnu Dutas. And there also it is said that how even the Vishnu Dutas, they eternally have beautiful black hair. Beautiful black hair. So even the Vishnu Dutas, they are also eternally youthful. They have completely spiritual bodies. So Atma Mayaya, right? In Bhagavad Gita, 4th chapter, text 6 actually makes a point. Atma, by his own, he descends in his own spiritual body. Okay. And then the last point that Prabhupada actually makes in this purport, that why does the Lord descend? Does the Lord really descend for destroying, diminishing the miseries of this material world? Is that true? If that was the only purpose, then the Lord could have, how Prabhupada makes this point in his classes. So the Lord, if he just thinks, and then the demon can be killed. Right? What does the Lord need? He can just think and the demon will be killed. Or he may say that, why should I descend? I'll just send one of my external energies, and there'll be a hurricane, or there'll be some storm, some natural disturbance, and then the demon can be killed. Why does the Lord personally have to descend? So what is this? What is the answer to this point? So this verse is saying bhume, right? To diminish the miseries on this material world, the Lord descends. But is that the real purpose of the descent of the Lord?
He would like to personally associate with all the devotees, and he would like to give, the main thing is association, interactions, having rasa with the devotees.
Okay, very nice. So actually, the main reason that Krishna actually descends is he wants to relieve the separation of his devotees. Because here devotees on this material world are, anxiously praying to Krishna and serving Krishna in the heart and feeling separation. Oh, when will we be with Krishna? And Krishna so mercifully, he actually descends and then he associates with all his devotees. And then, so that is the main point. The main point is actually to have rasa with his devotees. Right? Okay. So Prabhupada makes a point, but he actually descends to exhibit his transcendental activities in order to encourage his pure devotees who want to enjoy life by chanting the glories of the Lord. Right? So he wants to encourage the pure devotees that you have been serving me, you have been calling for me. Let me come. I have come here to actually encourage your devotion. Okay. And then also Prabhupada says that when the Lord comes, he shows all these transcendental activities. Right? Transcendental activities. And why is he showing all these urukramaha? Right? Urukramaha. These great extraordinary activities. Why is the Lord showing? So that he's actually creating a subject matter for generations to come. So that even now, 5,000 years before, like yesterday we are out for book distribution. And as soon as you show the children Krishna book stories, immediately they are attracted. Oh, Krishna stories, how Krishna lifted Govardhan hill, how Krishna killed the demons, Trinavarta demon, all these demons, and the children are immediately attracted. So Krishna is giving, everyone as jivas, as conditioned jivas, we want to hear something, we want to talk about something. Krishna is saying, okay, that is the nature of every conscious being. If you want to do that, here is the subject matter to talk about. Talk about Krishna's pastime, and just by hearing and talking about his pastime, you can go back home, back to God. Right? Okay, so that's Janma Karma Chame Divyam, Evam Yoveti Tattva, Tattva Deham, Punarjanma, Naiti Mamiti. So when Krishna descends, he actually comes to encourage his pure devotees, and then he creates a subject matter for generations to talk about his wonderful pastimes. Okay. Okay. Now, now one theme that we'll see in all these verses is the speciality of Vrindavan pastimes compared to all the other incarnations. So what is the speciality of Vrindavan pastimes compared to all the other incarnations? Would anyone like to share anything?
There are 4 extra qualities that Krishna has that even Lord Vishnu doesn't have. Like he plays his flute, he has sweet relationship with his devotees, he has extraordinary beauty, and
Fruit, right?
I said that one, but I'm missing one.
So Rupa Madhurya, Prema Madhurya, Leela Madhurya, and Venu Madhurya. These 4, right? So yeah, so that's good. So particularly like in these verses, Vishwanath Chakri Thakur, particularly the Vrindavan pastime, he stresses on the point that up to this point, when we see all the incarnations, one thing that is actually brought about through this incarnation, because this chapter is titled what? Schedule incarnation with specific functions. And in their specific functions, what is actually shown? The power, the opulence, the glory of the Lord has been shown. But now in Vrindavan pastime, when Brahma is actually describing this pastime, he actually is making the point. Yes, he will show different activities, but why does he use the word anupalaksha, which is hard to be seen, to actually make the point that in these pastimes, when he shows these pastimes are imbued with so much sweetness that the sweetness will actually hide the power or the opulence that have been described in the previous incarnations. So the unique feature of Vrindavan pastime is the sweetness of the Lord when he actually exhibits. And in that sweetness, and through that sweetness, he actually hides the power or that opulence. Right? So that is unique about Vrindavan pastime. And we'll see this more in the further verses also. Okay? Is this verse okay? The first verse about how Krishna actually descends along with Balaram with Sita Krishna. Sita Krishna means with black hair, right? And so, okay. So that's referring to the beauty of Lord Shri Krishna, right? So there's a beauty and then there is a sweetness, right? So these are actually 2 of the 4 unique qualities that we mentioned about Krishna. Okay, text 27.
Tokena jiva haranam yadulukikayas Traimasikasya chapadashakatopavrittaha Yadringatanta ragatena divisprissurva Unmulanam tvitaratarjunayorna bhavyam. Gopinathacharya.
There is no doubt about Lord Krishna's being the Supreme Lord. Otherwise, how was it possible for him to kill a giant demon like Putna when he was just on the lap of his mother, to overturn a cart with his leg when he was only 3 months old, or to uproot a pair of Arjuna trees so high that they touched the sky when he was only crawling? All these activities are impossible for anyone other than the Lord himself.
So how many past tense are actually there in this verse? And as I said, we are just touching upon the past tense from the 10th canto. So if you see, Tokena means by a child. Jiva Harana, he killed a living being. And which living being did he kill? What was the first demon that we talk about? Uluki. Yeah, what's that? Putana. So Uluki Kayaha. right? Uluki Kaya means assume the giant body of a demon. So when Krishna actually sucked the poison from the breast of Putana, and with that poison, he also sucked the life or air of Putana. Then Putana, she actually ran out and then she expanded to over 6 miles long, right? So she actually, Uluki Kaya, she assumed this giant body of a demon, and that's the first one, right? So Tokena Jiva Haranam. So he actually that's referring to the Putana, right? Ulukikaya, who assumed the body of a giant demon. Okay, now second demon, Traimasika. Traimasika, when he was 3 months old, what did he do? Then, if you see the Sanskrit, Pada by his leg, Shakata Apavrataha. He turned over the cart. What's the name of this demon?
Sekatasura.
Shakatasura, right? So we see the word Shakata, that cart, the demon who actually assumed the form of a cart, right? And then when Krishna was below, placed by Mother Yashoda below the cart, then just with his little toe, he just touched the cart, and then the entire demon was killed, right? So, so Shakata Apro turned over the cart. So second pastime. Then third pastime, Ringata. Ringata means while crawling. Antargatena, being overturned, taken, Divi, high in the sky, spiritual touching, Unmulanam, uprooted, Arjunayaho. Arjunayaho means the Arjuna trees. So what's the third pastime? When Krishna was crawling, right, he actually Unmulanam means, Mula means root. Unmulanam means he uprooted. Uprooted what? The twin Arjuna trees. So this is referring to the Damodar Leela, when Krishna was tied with the mortar, and then when he was going in between the twin Arjun trees, then the mortar got stuck up, and he just pulled, and on the both big twin Arjun trees actually fell, were uprooted. Right. So three pastimes of the Lord are actually given: killing of Putana, killing of Shakatasura, and the uprooting of the twin Arjun trees. Okay. Now, the other words that are actually there, Itaratha means anyone else. Na bhavyam means this was not possible, right? So all these activities are impossible for anyone other than Lord Shri Krishna himself, right? Who in the baby form, as a small baby, can actually suck the life air of a demon who actually is more than 6 miles long. Who can do it? Right? Who in the form of a baby, just by the touch of a toe, right, can kill a demon as great as Shakatasura, right? And who just by crawling between two trees can uproot the two tall trees. Only Lord Shri Krishna can do this, right? Now again, that point of sweetness, right? So when Putana expanded to over 6 miles, right, over 6 miles long, then it is, see, previously we read about Vamanadev, right? Vamanadev, what did he do? He expanded his body, right? So could Lord Krishna also expand his body? The demon is 6 miles long. Lord Krishna could also become more than 6 miles. Could Krishna do it? Yes, he could do it, right? He can do it, right? He has the power to do it, right? So he could have expanded, just like Vamanadev expanded his form so big. He could have expanded his form so big, to actually overcome the demon Putana, but he did not do so. Why? Because the same point, because he did not want that sweetness to be covered by the display of opulence. As Vamanadev, he actually did that. And that the point is more of showing the glory, showing the power. But here, because he wants to keep the sweetness of Vrindavan, he just remained as the original child. So first demon, Putana, he did not show a form like Vamanadev. Second demon, Shakatasura. Right. So in Shakatasura, the Lord actually just turned over the cart with a little toe. Right. Now, when Lord appeared as Lord Narsimadev, then his feet are actually described to be ferocious. His feet are described. Even if you see the form of Lord Narsimadev in Mayapur or in New Vrindavan, you see the feet. They're big, ferocious feet. Just looking at the feet, someone may be scared. So, but the Lord could have shown, okay, I have to kill the demon with my feet. Let me expand my feet and make him ferocious like Lord Narsimadev. But no. The Lord did not show that. Just with his tiny toe, he killed the demon. And then third demon is, the third aspect here is the uprooting of the twin Arjun. And Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is said, here he did not show a form like Varahadev, right? So Varahadev, he appeared with his, in that form, and then he lifted the earth, right, and placed it back on the orbit. And here the Lord could have expanded to a bigger form to uproot those trees, but he did not. He maintained his form. So all these examples, so for Putana, Vamanadev, for Shakatashura, he did not show a form like Narsimadev, and for uprooting the twin Arjunshi, he did not show a form like Varahadev. And hence, all these pastimes of Vrindavan prove that in these pastimes, that the unique feature of sweetness, and just for that sweetness, the Lord is actually hiding his power. So Prabhupada makes a point in purport that if Mother Yashoda would have seen, when Putana was killed, Mother Yashoda would have seen that Krishna has expanded his form like Vamanadev to actually overcome the demon, then that would actually cause, Prabhupada makes a point, that a deep loving feeling, the natural motherly feeling of Mother Yashoda would have been hurt. Because for Mother Yashoda, so everyone considers, oh yeah, Krishna is the supreme. But in Vrindavan, the sweetness is so prominent that the devotees of Vrindavan say that even if Krishna is God, so what? For me, he's just my son. For me, he's just my son. Just like Prabhupada gives this example that that the mother of a president, she doesn't consider her son as president. If she looks at her son, oh, this is the president of United States of America, then with that opulence, that loving feeling of a mother will actually be suppressed. And Krishna did not want that to happen. So he did not want to hurt that mood of love, that selfless, that love of Mother Yashoda, and hence he did not show his opulence. Right? So Prabhupada says Yashoda Mai would have lost the temper of a love for Krishna as a national mother. But as far as Lord Krishna is, okay, so because of that, the Lord did not show all these points. Right? And then Prabhupada actually also makes a point in purport that when did Krishna show all these pastimes? When he was a baby, killing Putana or 3 months old, and it is not like some people say that, okay, when you meditate, you actually, perform your austerities, then you become God. But Prabhupada says, no, God is always God. Even when he's a baby, when he's 3 months old, still he is the original supreme personality of Godhead with all the power of Vamanadev, Narsimadev, Varahadev, and everything. All the incarnations are actually there within that personality of Krishna. Right? So God is always God. And Prabhupada says, Nityo Nityana Chetanas Chetanana. Right? So in that verse that Prabhupada often quotes, Nityo Nityanam, there are so many living entities, but of those, there is one who is actually unique. Right? Chetanas Chetanana, there's so many eternal beings, and out of them, there's one unique. Chetanas Chetanam means there's so many conscious beings, but one is unique. And what is that one? Eko Yo Nityo Nityana Chetanas Chetanam Eko Yo Vidhati Kama. Right? I'm missing one word there. But basically saying, but there's one personality who is maintaining all the other personalities. Yes, there are so many living entities, but Krishna is unique because he is maintaining all the other personalities. And Jiva, like when we get perfection, yes, we attain godly qualities, but that is only, we cannot become God. That's only a minute quantity of those qualities of God. But Jiva can never become God. Okay. And then Prabhupada also talks, he talks a little bit about Shakatasura, and then he talks about how, when he was a naughty child, then Mother Yashoda tied him to the grinding motor, and then the grinding motor was stuck between the Arjuna trees, and then when Mother Yashoda saw Krishna with those fallen trees, her thinking was not that, oh, Krishna is God, he has actually, liberated these personalities. No, Mother Yashoda was thinking that her child had been saved from the falling trees by the mercy of the Lord. Like even when Putana, after Putana, what is actually described in the 10th canto of Bhagavatam, what did Mother Yashoda do after that? Anyone remembers?
She did all kinds of prayers and for
She
protection.
did all kinds of prayers. She actually got the cow, the tail of the cow, and touched
Yes, yeah,
different parts of Krishna to protect. Oh my, let my child be protected. Oh my Lord, please protect my child. That is the
for
one.
protection, yes.
So Prabhupada says that is the way of reciprocation of love affair between the Lord and his devotees. Yashoda Mai wanted to have that mood of Vatsalya Bhav, wanted to love the Lord exactly like her child, and similarly, the Lord is actually reciprocating in the same way. Okay. Next verse, 28.
Yadvai Vajevraja Pashun Vishatoya Pitat Palam Stvajivayat Anugraha Drishti Vrishtya Tachchudhaye Divishavirya Vilola Jivam Uchatayo Uchatayishyad Uragam Dhiran Radinyam.
Translation, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Then also, when the cowherd boys and their animals drank the poisoned water of the river Yamuna, and after the Lord, in his childhood, reviled them by his merciful glance. Just to purify the water of the river Yamuna, he jumped into it as if playing and chastised the venomous Kalia snake, which was lurking there, its tongue emitting waves of poison. Who can perform such Herculean task but the Supreme Lord? Hare Krishna.
So, can anyone say, like, where is the sweetness in this pastime?
The love for the cowherd boys.
Okay, yeah, that's a good point. Love for common points. So in this pastime, yes, we are reading about the Kaliya Leela, right? Kaliya Leela has been described. So when here it says Vraja Pashun, the animals, right? The Pashun means the animals of Vrindavan. Vishaya Toya, Visha means poison. Vishaya Toya means they drank the poison water. So we know in Kaliya Leela how the cows and the cowherd boys, they pita and they drank this poison water, poisoned by Kaliya, right? And then what did the Lord do after that? See, the Lord could have shown some power to actually bring all these cowherd boys and cows back to life. Right? So the Lord can show any powerful feature. But what did he do here? Anugraha Drishti. If you see the words, Anugraha means what? Merciful. Drishti means glance. So the Lord did not, show his opulence. Just by his merciful glance, he actually brought all these, the cows and the cowherd boys back to life. So this actually shows the sweetness of the Lord. He did not take some big form or show some opulence that, okay, now they have been killed by this poison water. So let me do something big. No, just by a sweet, merciful glance, he brought them back to life. That's why the word is ajivayat. Ajivayat, he brought them back to life. Okay. And then it says Shuddhaye for purification. So for purification of the water of the Yamuna, what did he do? He actually Ucha Tayishta Urugam. Right? Urugam means snake. So he severely punished the snake Kaliya, right? So just to purify the water of river Yamuna, Shuddhaye, he actually severely punished Kaliya. And then it says Viharan Ridinyam, right? So Viharan Ridinyam, taking pleasure in the river. So again, it shows aspect of sweetness. So it's yes, Lord Krishna went and he jumped into the river Yamuna, he fought with Kaliya, but then he did that to purify Yamuna. All that is good. But then why did he do that? Just to take pleasure in playing in the water. So again, we see the aspect of sweetness of Krishna. Right? Otherwise, if the Lord is showing some powerful opulence, then there's no question of the sweetness. Because as a small boy, what do they like to do? They like to play in water. So Krishna, as a small boy, he wanted to play in the water, and hence he actually jumped into the water. So again, we actually the aspect of sweetness of the Lord. Okay. Okay. Next one. Next verse. 29.
Tatkarma divyam ivayam nishayanam davagnina shuchivane paridayamane uneshyati vrajamato vasitantakalam netre pidapya sabalo nadigam yoviryaha.
Hare Krishna. On the very night of the day of the chastisement of the Kaliya snake, when the inhabitants of Varjabhumi were sleeping carefree, there was a forest fire ablaze due to dry leaves, and it appeared that all the inhabitants were sure to meet their death. But the Lord, along with Balarama, saved them simply by closing his eyes. Such are the superhuman activities of the Lord. Hare Krishna.
Okay. Okay. So what is this telling? So on the very same night when Kaliya was actually chastised, then actually if you see in 10th canto, there are actually two different forest fires that have been mentioned. Right. So here it is described that there was this forest fire on the night of chastisement of Kaliya, and then it's described that how all the so it says Nishayanam. Nishayanam means all the Brajvasis, they were sleeping carefully, right? And then there was the Dava Agnina. Dava Agnina means there was a forest fire, right? And Suchi Vane. So in the dry forest, there was this forest fire. And Paridha Yamane. So it set ablaze to everything, right? And then what did the Lord do? Because there was this forest fire and all the cowherd boys and the cows, they were like sleeping carefreely, right? Carefully in the forest fire. Then it says, Antakalam, it just appeared as if their last moments of their life was there because the forest fire had engulfed all of these persons, right? Then what did the Lord do? Pidhapya means he simply asked Sir Bala with Baladev. What did he do? He asked them to close their eyes. So it's interesting in the translation, it says he saved them by closing his eyes. You know. And if you see in the 10th canto, it actually says that Krishna asked them to close their eyes. So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur also says that Krishna asked them, don't worry, just close your eyes. I will take care of it. Right? So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur actually makes a point in purport. He actually says that how Krishna actually, he asked them, Krishna was thinking as follows. He was thinking that, all these boys, they actually depend on me to take care of them, for maintaining their life. Now this entire forest fire is there. If I swallow the forest fire in front of them, that will be a display of the opulence. But Krishna does not want to display any of the opulence in front of the cowherd boys, right? In that way. So he's thinking, if I swallow the forest fire in front of them, then even the cowherd boys, just seeing me swallow the forest fire, they will give up their life. Because Krishna is our dear friend. How can, if forest fire enters his mouth, how will he survive? So hence Krishna in that mood, he actually says, oh dear boys, don't worry, you just close your eyes. Right? And then you see in the 10th canto, actually all the cowherd boys, they actually say, Krishna, you're really a joker. This is how Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur actually says, Krishna, you're really a joker. How can we avoid the fire by simply closing our eyes? You are a joker. What are you saying? If I close our eyes, then forest fire will go away. What is this? This is not possible. Right? Then Balram said that Krishna actually, he knows some mantras to take away the fire. But those mantras will work only if you close your eyes. Then the boy says, okay. Balram, if you say that Krishna knows some mantra, then we'll believe you. Okay, we'll close our eyes. And when they close their eyes, Krishna just swallowed the entire forest fire. Right? So again, that aspect of sweetness. Yes, Krishna could have done so many things could have showered rainfall or done so many things, but Krishna does it in such a sweet way that it actually does not hinder the mood of sweetness of Vrindavan. And Krishna, like that's the unique thing over the mood of Vrindavan. It does not hinder that mood of Like, even in Chaitanya Charitamrita, we actually read this point that in the mood of Aishwarya, it actually overcomes overcomes that mood of sweetness. But here Krishna is actually wants to experience that pure Madhurya without any tinge of Aishwarya. Right? So hence he actually shows this. Okay. So Prabhupada in the purport, okay, and also the other point in this verse is that the word it's used anadhigamya, unfathomable virya, right? So Prabhupada says, such are the superhuman activities of the Lord. Yes, the Lord does such amazing activities, but he does in such a way that the sweetness of Vrindavan is brought about. Right? Right. And also in the purport, Prabhupada says that not only are these activities amazing to hear, but in fact, all other activities of the Lord, whatever he may do, are all superhuman. And then again, Prabhupada quotes Bhagavad Gita 4.9. Right? What is Bhagavad Gita 4.9?
Janma karma chame.
Janma karma chame divya evam yoveti tatata taptadeham punarjanma naiti maam eti sarjana. So if you actually see, just by hearing these sweet pastimes, knowing Krishna in truth, one can go back home, back to Garden. That is the beauty of bhakti. Krishna has made this pastime so attractive to us that all we have to do is hear these sweet, amazing pastimes. Right? Okay. Now let's go to text number 13.
Grinita yad yad upabanda mamusya mata shulbam sutasya natu tad amushya mati yad jimbatosya vadane bhuvanani gopi samviksha shankita mana pratibodhitasid.
Hare Krishna. When the cowherd woman, Krishna's foster mother Yashoda, was trying to tie the hands of her son with ropes, she found the rope to be always insufficient in length. And when she finally gave up, Lord Krishna, by and by, opened his mouth, wherein the mother found all the universes situated. Seeing this, she was doubtful in her mind, but she was convinced in a different manner of the mystic nature of her son.
Okay. So if you see like how these pastimes have been described, it's interesting. Okay, so let's see text 30. Right? So here, what does it say? Grinita, by taking away yet whatsoever. So what happened in the Damodar Leela? Like Mother Yashoda was trying to tie Krishna, but there's always 2 fingers too short. And then whatever rope was there was rope for tying cows or any household rope, and then even the other gopis bought rope. So whatsoever ropes were there, she took all those ropes and upabandham, she tried to tie, and sulbham, ropes, sutasya, her own son, right? So again that mood is there. She's not tying the Supreme Personality of Godhead, she's tying her own son, sutasya, right? But it was amushyamati. It wasn't sufficient, right? So she tried to tie the rope, but it was always insufficient to tie the rope, right? Always insufficient in length. And when she finally gave up, then it says that Jambrataha, Jrimbataha, opening his mouth, the Lord actually showed in the mouth all the universes. Now, if you remember in 10th canto of Bhagavatam, is this the sequence of events that happened? What happens after the Mother Yashoda ties Krishna's hands? Actually, here it's actually talking of Krishna's hands. It's not even talking of Krishna's Damodar, the belly, right? And then here it's actually saying that she tied Krishna's hands when Krishna was naughty. And then after that, Krishna actually opened his mouth. And then in that mouth, Krishna actually saw all the, Mother Yashoda saw all the different universes. Okay, so I'll explain that point. But finally, we see what? Sankita Manaha. She actually became doubtful in mind, right? Why did she become doubtful in mind when she saw all the universes in Krishna's mind, in Krishna's mouth, right? And then after it says Sankita Manaha, and then Pratibodhita. She was convinced in a different way, right? So this is actually explained in the 10th canto of Bhagavatam that in 10.8.40 it actually explained Kim Swapna Eted Uta Devayaya. So she's actually Mother Yashoda, when she saw all the universes in the mouth of Krishna, right? She actually said, Kim Swapna, am I dreaming? This is my little boy. How all the universes can sit in the mouth of my boy? Am I dreaming? Kim Swapna, right? So first is she's saying, is this a dream? Etad Uta Deva Maya, or maybe this is some illusion of the Devatas, right? And then she says, Ato Amusyaiva Mamar Bhakasya, or some mystic power exhibited by my child. You know, so she's thinking in this way, what is this? Is this some dream? But then she's saying, actually, I'm not dreaming because my eyes are wide open. Right? If your eyes are open, then you're not dreaming. Right? So she's saying, I'm not dreaming because my eyes are open, not open. Eyes are open, right? And then I'm not sleeping also, so it cannot be a dream, right? Then she says, oh, maybe it is a Deva Maya. It is some illusion created by the demigods. But then she's saying, I am such an insignificant woman. What would the demigods have to create illusion for me? Why would the demigods take the effort and come and show me some illusion? I'm just an insignificant, ordinary cowherd lady, right? So it cannot be some illusion created by the demigods. Right? Hence, it must be what? It may be some mystic power of my son, as predicted by Gargamuni. Right? So whenever Nanda Maharaja, Mother Yashoda see something amazing of Krishna, they say, yes, maybe some mystic power our son has. Gargamuni actually told about this. So maybe that mystic power is there. But then, after that, what does the verse say? Pratibodhita. And immediately she had that doubt, maybe my son has some mystic power. But then immediately she actually came back to the position. No. This is my little Lala. That's it. I don't know anyone other than my little child. Right? So again, that aspect of sweetness. Okay. Right. So Prabhupada in the purport actually makes a point that because of a deep affection for Krishna, she could never think that her very son was Narayan, right? And this is the action of Yogamaya. So Yogamaya is actually Krishna's own energy, but it acts on Krishna and Krishna's devotees, where they actually forget that Krishna is a supreme personality of Godhead. Okay. So one point was, how is this actually related? Because we don't see that in Damodar Lila, this sequence of events does not happen. So Prabhupada actually explains in the next purport. So I'll talk about that in the next purport. So let's continue. Text 31. Is okay? I'll come to that point in the next purport. 31.
Nandam Chamukshyati Bhayad Varunasya Pashad Gopan Vileshu Pihitan Maya Sununacha Anapratam Nishishayana Shayanam Atishramena Lokam Vikuntam Upaneshati Gokulam Smam.
Lord Krishna saved his foster father, Nand Maharaj, from the fear of the demigod Varuna and released the cowherd boys from the caves of the mountain, for they were placed there by the son of Maya. Also to the inhabitants of Vrindavan, who were busy working during daytime and sleeping soundly at night because of their hard labor in the day, Lord Krishna awarded promotion to the highest planet in the spiritual sky. All these acts are transcendental and certainly prove without any doubt his godhood.
So what all pastimes are there here? Nanda Maharaj, Moksha iti saves Bhayat from the fear of Varunasya. Varuna, the demigod of water. Right? So we know the story, right? How Nanda Maharaj was taking bath. He actually went to take bath in the Yamuna, but the timing was just like little bit off, in the sense that he actually took bath at an inauspicious time at the end of the night, not in the starting of the next day. And then one of the foolish servants of Varun Dev, right? So this is described in 10th canto. One of the foolish servants of Varun Dev, he actually captured Nanda Maharaj, right? And brought him to the court of Varuna. right? So, yeah. But the whole purpose of this pastime was Varunadev wanted to have actually darshan of Lord Shri Krishna. But anyway, so the pastime here is saying Nanda Maharaj was saved from the fear of that demigod Varunadev. Then the next pastime is what? Gopan Bileshu. Bileshu means the caves of the mountain. Pihitam place Maya Sununa, by the son of Maya. Right? So who is this demon? That one demon who actually came and who actually hid all the cowherd boys into the cave of a mountain.
Vyomasura.
Vyomasura, right? Vyomasura. So the son of Maya, Maya is called Vyomasura. So that's the second pastime, right? Then third point is very interesting. Ahani apritam, being very engaged during the daytime, and Nishi at night, Shayanam, sleeping, Ati Shramena. Ati Shramena. Shramena means labor. Ati Shramena, working very hard, intense labor. Lokan planet, Vaikuntha Upaneshti. So if you see the verse, it actually seems, and to the inhabitants of Vrindavan who were busy working during the daytime and sleeping soundly at night because of their hard labor in the day, Krishna awarded them promotion to the Vaikuntha planets, to the highest planet actually, which is Goloka Vrindavan. Now, how does this point make sense? Because they were working so hard in the day and at night they were soundly sleeping, Krishna actually promoted them to Goloka Vrindavan. That this it actually seems of supporting the point that people say work is worship. If I work very hard, Ati Shramena, then I am the best devotee of Krishna.
They're working, but they're thinking about Krishna all the time.
So Prabhupada actually makes the point, they're always working, right? They're always working. But what is the main thing? That while they are doing everything, they are constantly thinking about Krishna. Actually, everything they're doing in Vrindavan is only for the pleasure of Krishna, right? So that is the inner meaning that Prabhupada actually explains in this purport. He says, first of all, he makes a point that they were so busy in working throughout the day, taking care of the cows, milking the cows, and doing all their activities, churning the milk, yogurt, making butter, hanging the butter on the thing, and then so they're so busy, like cowherd men, right? And Prabhupada says, where is the time they have for doing their sadhana, their meditation? Right? No time, right? Because they're so busy whole day, Ati Shramena, no time for meditation. But still they got the highest perfection. Why? Because they are actually performing the highest spiritual activities. Everything they are doing, it is dovetailed only what will give pleasure to our Lala. What will give pleasure to Krishna? That is our only focus, right? And while even when Krishna goes to the forest, then all the elderly gopis and gopas, they are just, I guess, stunned. When will Krishna come back? They are actually looking in the direction where Krishna comes back every evening. So constantly they're thinking, when will Krishna return with the cowherd boy? When will Krishna return with the cowherd boy? And then Prabhupada actually makes the point, they are actually saturated with that spiritual potency, with the thought of Krishna, right? They're saturated with that love for Krishna. Hence, while they are doing whatever they are doing, they cannot stop thinking about Krishna. Right? So though it appears that this verse is saying they worked very hard and hence Krishna gave them promotion to Vrindavan, but the real meaning is that they are so imbued with that love, with that sweetness for Krishna, that though they were doing everything, they were completely absorbed in Krishna, and hence Krishna promoted them to Goloka Vrindavan. And Prabhupada says, this is the advantage of the way of Bhakti Yoga. What is the advantage? You can continue to do all your activities. It's not that when you're taking Bhakti Yoga, we say, okay, quit your job, give up your family, go to the forest. No. You can do the activities that you're doing. You can do 9-to-5 job. You can take care of your household. You can take care of family, cook in the kitchen, everything you can do. But the main thing, you do that for the pleasure of Krishna. Discharge one's duty only on Krishna's behalf. And all our activities must be saturated with thought of Krishna. So while we are doing what we are doing, we can actually attain the highest perfection. Only thing we have to change is we have to change our consciousness while doing the activities. And that's the beauty of Bhakti Yoga. So even Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu stressed on this point, but he actually says, Stane stita sutigatam tanuvan manobhir. Right? Stane stita. Wherever you are, whichever varna or ashrama you are, you can stay in that position, no problem. But Shruti Sanistita Shrutigatam Tanuvan Manobhir. With our body, with our mind, and with our words. We should always be absorbed in thoughts of Krishna, in glorifying Krishna, in thinking about Krishna. In that way, we are actually always absorbed in Krishna. Right? So that's the beauty of Bhakti Yoga. Okay. Okay. So anything else? So the key point here is the point about absorption in Krishna. So even I'll just make a side point, just practically I was thinking on this verse that, how do we know we are progressing in a spiritual life, in a spiritual journey? It comes to just one word. What is our absorption in Krishna? How much are we absorbed in Krishna? It comes to one point. So even while we are working, are we actually somehow connecting to Krishna? Right? Are somehow absorbed in Krishna? While we are chanting, right? Often our chanting may be mechanical, where we're saying Hare Krishna, and thinking of so many things. Are we really absorbed in Krishna? While we are doing seva, cooking in the kitchen, in the temple kitchen, are we thinking? Are we cooking? We are just assisting Srimati Radharani and she's giving pleasure to Krishna. Are we having that absorption? It all comes to a point. How much are we absorbed in our different activities in Krishna? Right? So it all comes to this point of absorption. So externally, we may do so many things, but internally, that transformation of the consciousness has to occur where we are actually always conscious of Krishna. And our movement is called what? International Society for Krishna Consciousness. So we have to be conscious of Krishna while we are doing what we are doing. We have to be conscious of Krishna. That's the main point. Okay, next verse.
Praveen, you are sharing the point why the sequence.
Yeah, actually, it comes in a later purport, not in this. It comes in a purport. I was looking at that. Actually, it comes in purport to 33. Actually. Okay, so I'll wait until that point. So let's continue. So next verse.
Goparmate pratihate vraja viplavaya deve vivarshati pashun kripayari rakshu darto chilindran iva sapta dinani sapta varsho mahidram anagaika kare shalilam. When the cowherd men of Vrindavan, under the instruction of Krishna, stopped offering sacrifice to the heavenly king Indra, the whole tract of land known as Braja was threatened with being washed away by constant heavy rains for 7 days. Lord Krishna, out of his causeless mercy upon the inhabitants of Braja, held up the hill known as Govardhan with one hand only, although he was only 7 years old. He did this to protect the animals from the onslaught of water.
So which pastime is this? Govardhan Lila. Right? So it says Gope by the cowherd man. Makhe. Makhe means what? We have heard this word before also, right? Makhe. Makhe means sacrifices. Right? So when the Gopas and the cowherd men were actually doing sacrifices, and here particularly sacrifices to whom? To the king of heaven. Right? When they were doing sacrifices, then Krishna came and he actually hampered, pratihate, he stopped their sacrifice. And when Indra heard about this, then what did he do? He did Vraj Vipla Bhaya. He actually devastated the whole existence of Vraj Bhumi. Right? And then Deve is the king of heaven. Right? And then how did he devast? Abhi Varshati. Varshati. It means rain. He actually poured so much heavy downpour of rain. Right? And then Pashun, the animals, and Krishna actually seeing this heavy downpour of rain out of his kripaya, out of his causeless mercy for the Pashun. He was desiring to protect all of them. And then what did he do? Dharta. Dharta means he held up. Uchi Lindram. Uchilindram, that's a nice word actually. It says he actually uprooted the Govardhan hill just like an umbrella. Like if it's raining heavily, umbrella is on the ground, you will just take it, pick it up, and open it. Umbrella. So similarly, Krishna uprooted the entire Govardhan hill on his little finger, right? And then what he do? Sapta Dinani. Sapta Dinani means continuously for 7 days. Sapta Varshaha. Only a 7-year-old boy. Krishna only a 7-year-old boy. So Sapta Sapta twice, right? 7-year-old boy. Sapta Dinani for 7 days. Mahidram. He actually held Govardhan hill. Anaga without being tired on one hand, and Shalila very playfully. Again, we see that mood of sweetness of Vrindavan. That Krishna, he very playfully lifted the Govardhan hill on his little finger. And he was Anaga, untired. He was not tired at all. Right? So that's the entire Govardhan hill. So now in the purport, I always find this very amusing. That Prabhupada actually uses this word that children play, the first line of the purport. Children play with an umbrella generally known as a frog's umbrella. So if you search on Google also frog's umbrella, you'll just see like a frog holding like a tiny umbrella, you know. So just like how a child may open a small umbrella, similarly Lord Krishna, he actually held the entire Govardhan hill continuously on one little finger just to protect the essence of Vrindavan. Right? Now the other point that Prabhupada focuses on this purport, that this entire pastime proves what? The biggest proof of this entire pastime is what? That we don't need to perform any sacrifices to the demigods. If you just please Krishna, Krishna will protect us from everything. Right? So that's the main point. So Prabhupada makes this point. Factually, there is no need of offering sacrifices to the demigods. You know, and Krishna stopped that sacrifice just to prove to the entire world that just take up the direct method of worshipping the Lord, not the indirect method. Bhagavad Gita says worshipping a demigod means it's the indirect method of worshipping the Lord. Don't do that. Just worship directly the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And when we worship the Lord directly, then He will take care of us. You know, just today morning I was hearing Prabhupada makes the point. Sarva dharma paitatya mam ekam sharanam vraja. You take care. We are worried about so much things. Oh, my son is doing this, or my family is this, or who will maintain, who will pay the bill, insurance, that, all these taxes, this, so many. But Krishna says, just surrender unto me. I will take care of everything. You just do the task of surrendering unto Krishna. Right? Okay. Right. And also Prabhupada makes the point that Krishna through his pastime proved definitely that anyone directly engaged as a devotee of the Supreme Lord need not satisfy any other demigod, however great, even up to the level of Brahma or Shiva. One need not satisfy anyone. If you satisfy Krishna, all of them are automatically satisfied. Right? Okay. So this incident proves that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, because just by satisfying Krishna, even Brahma and Shiva and all the demigods are satisfied. Hence, who is the Supreme? Krishna is the Supreme. But if you actually worship some other demigod, it's not that other demigods are pleased. Not Krishna is pleased. No. Only if you serve Krishna, everyone else is pleased. So this proves Krishna is the Supreme Personality of God. Okay, text 33. So in this pastime, purport Prabhupada actually explains that point that I was mentioning earlier.
I've heard that frog's umbrella refers to mushroom.
Mushroom.
Yeah.
Frog's
You know
umbrella.
that little, it's so like a child easily can pick up a mushroom. It's like that's how Krishna easily could pick up.
Thank you.
Kridan vaneni shini shakara rashmi goryam rasonuka kala padayata murchitena udipita smara rujam rajabrid vadhunam hartur harishyati shiro danadanugasya.
Translation, Srila Prabhupada. When the Lord was engaged in his pastimes of the Rasa dance in the forest of Vrindavana and living the sexual desires of the wives of the inhabitants of Vrindavana by sweet and melodious songs, demon of the name Shankachuda, a rich follower of the treasurer of heaven, Kuvera, kidnapped the damsels. The Lord severed his head from his trunk.
Mhm. Okay, so now we have reached the highest of all the pastimes. So Brahmaji is actually talking about what? The Rasa Leela, right? So he says, Kridan, while engaged in pastimes, Vane in the forest of Vrindavan, then Nishi, nocturnal, right? In the night, in the Nishkara, right? In the Falgun Purnima, right? In the full moon night. That's why it says Rashmi Gauryam, white moonshine, in that full moon night, when there's moonshine, just like Rashmi Gauryam, white moonshine, then the Lord desiring to do what? Rasa Unmukaha, desiring to dance with all the gopis of Vrindavan. Then Kala Padayata, accompanied by sweet song, Murchitena, melodious music, right? And Udipita, awakened sexual desires in those gopis of Vrindavan. Right? So when the Lord actually played the flute, the fifth note of the flute, then that actually arose this sexual desire. Actually, we say sexual desire, we say lust for the gopis, but there is actually no lust in the gopis. And that sexual desire is just the highest rasa of the spiritual world, right? Highest rasa. So he actually awakened that rasa in the gopis. But then after it actually says, but then there was this treasurer, Dhanada Anugasya, the follower of the rich Kuvera, Shankachuda, he actually kidnapped the gopis, and then the Lord actually severed his head from his trunk, right? And he actually cut off his head. So in this purport, Prabhupada actually makes this point that, just like previously we read, it's like 10 canto pastimes and how it is described here, it does not match. Like even Ras Leela, the Shankachuda pastime actually coming and kidnapping was actually a little later. But why is Brahma actually mentioning both together? Because Prabhupada makes a point that Brahma, how is he telling all these pastimes? Because he is actually saying that in the future, all these pastimes are going to happen. So he's just giving a hint of this pastime, but not necessarily in sequential order. It is just Brahma is not yet seen these pastimes. He's just actually saying, okay, in the future, these pastimes are going to happen. And hence he's just mentioning, and some of the details may not be as it actually happened in this particular Divya Yuga, right? So that is one point. And also, the other point is, so Krishna comes, he shows different pastimes in different Divya Yugas, right? When Dwapar Yuga, of every Divya Yuga, Krishna shows different pastimes, right? So the pastimes, there may be like different, slightly differences in how those pastimes are actually shown. Right? Acharya says this as Kalpa Bheda. Kalpa Bheda means, Kalpa means a day of Brahma, Bheda means differences. The same pastimes are happening, but they may happen in slightly different ways. So so that could be other explanation of why these pastimes appear that they are actually not happening together. So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he actually says, this actually, killing of Shankachuda took in another day, not on the same day that Ras Leela actually took place, but because it took place near the same place where the Ras Leela dance was performed, hence Brahma actually put them together. Hence Brahma put them together. So similarly for the previous pastimes also, that though they may not necessarily match exactly with 10 canto, but because Brahma is saying, okay, Narada, in the future, all these pastimes are going to happen. So hence he's actually mentioning them in a way that may not be exactly similar to the 10th canto. So that's what Prabhupada said. The adjustment is that all these incidents would take place in the future after a time when it is being foretold by Brahma to Narada. Okay, is that point? Okay, so that's one point. And second is there's there may be slight differences in the way the pastimes are actually revealed. Okay. Now, other point that Prabhupada focused on that point. But again, in this point, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur actually he says that how Krishna he played his flute, and by the flute he actually incited that mood of rasa in all these gopis. Right. So I mentioned that point. That smara rujam, the sexual desires were udipita. Udipita means awakened in their heart. Okay. Okay, so let's continue 34, 35. So these are 34, 35 will be the last verses for Krishna's pastime. And actually, up to this point, what is the highest of all Vrindavan pastime? Rasa Leela, right? So he stopped over Rasa Leela. Now he'll go to, after going to Vrindavan, now he'll go to the other Mathura and Dwarka pastimes. Okay, so let's do 34, 35, then we'll stop for some questions or reflections.
Yecha pralamba kara dardura keshya rishta maleva kamsa yavana kapipom rakadya anyecha shalva puja balvala danta vakra sapto kshambara vedurata rukmi mukhya yeva mrade samiti shalina artha chapaha kambo jamatsya kuru srinjaya kaikayadyaha Yasyantya darshana malambala parta bhima vyajayave vyajavayena harina nirayam tadiyam. Venkat Prabhu had feelings.
Hare Krishna, Madhu. Hare Krishna. All demonic personalities like Pralamba, Denuka, Baka, Kesi, Arista, Chaunara, Maustika, Kaulya, Pita, elephant, Kamsa, Yavana, Narakasura, and Poundraka, great marshals like Salva, Divida, monkey, and Balvala, Danta Vakara, the 7 bulls, Sambara, Viturata, and Rukmi, as also great warriors like Kambuja, Matsya, Kuru, Srunjaya, and Kekaya would all fight vigorously, either with the Lord Hari directly or with him under his names of Baladeva, Arjuna, Bhima, etc. And the demons, thus being killed, would attain either the impersonal Brahma Jyoti or his personal abode in the Vaikuntha planets. Hare Krishna.
So this is basically after the Vrindavan pastime, all the remaining, like you see 33 up to 33 is Ras Leela, and then 34, I think chapter 34 will be Shankachuda. I think something around that. Then after that, then Akrura comes and then takes Krishna to Vrindavan, and then the rest. I think this is around the Akrura coming is what 44 or 45th chapter of the 90th chapter, and then from there up to the 90th chapter is all about Mathura Dwarka. So just in these 2 verses, he's listed all the other demons that Krishna is actually going. Not all, but the whole list of demons. So Pralamba, then Khara, then Khara is referring to Dhenukasura, right? Dhenukasura. Then Dhenukasura is actually Vrindavan. Bakasura is also Vrindavan. Keshi is Vrindavan. Then Aristasura, Vrindavan. Then Mala, that is actually Mathura. Then Kuvalaya Pida is Mathura. Then Kamsa. Then all that. Then remaining, I think everything is Paundraka is Dwarka, Narakasura, Dwarka, Salva, Balvala, Sambhara. Then Rukmi Mukhya is again, in the Rukmini Haran pastime. And Kambuja, Matsya, Srinjaya. So all these. So the main point here, we have this whole list here. But all these demoniac personalities, right? All these demons would fight vigorously with Krishna, and either Krishna directly or under his names. It's very interesting that it says under his names as Baladev, Arjun, Bhima. So basically the point is that all these different personalities, Baladev, Arjun, Bhima, are actually eternal associates of the Lord. So when the Lord actually descends, he comes with all these associates. So either the demons are killed by him or the demons are killed by his own associates. But either the Lord is directly killing them, all his associates are killing them. What is the benefit? What is the result? Thus being killed, they would either attain the impersonal Brahma Jyoti or the personal abode of Vaikuntha planets. So what was Kamsa's destination? After he was killed by Krishna?
Brahmacharya?
No, he actually got Sajuji Mukti. So he actually gets a personal. Salokya, I think. Salokya. One of the positive liberations, he actually enters into the planet of the Lord. So the point is that Prabhupada actually saying that when the Lord descends with all his associates, he's so merciful that even the demons who come in contact with Krishna or his associate, they get liberated. To actually achieve liberation is not easy, right? Not easy. But when the Lord comes, when he descends, he's so merciful that anyone who comes in contact with him or his associates, they get actually liberated, right? And the liberation could either be impersonal Brahmajyoti or the four positive kinds of liberations, right? But what makes a difference? What makes a difference? So before they are killed, if that person recognizes that, oh, actually, this is the Supreme Personality of God. If he recognizes and kills in that mood, oh, this is the ultimate source of all living entities, he is the ultimate, then he actually enters Vaikuntha. But at the time of being killed, if he just considers, oh, he's some powerful personality and now I am killed by him, if that is the mood, then he actually merges into Brahmajyoti. Right? So it depends on the consciousness of the person before being killed, but in either case, all of them get liberated. Right? So that is the merciful nature of the Lord.
So you said the ones who recognize, they get the four other kind of liberation?
Yeah.
And the ones who don't get submerged, they merge into the Brahman?
Yeah, Prabhupada mentioned that point. So according to the situation of their minds and the time of death, those who recognize the Lord would enter Vaikuntha. So it's just in the middle of the purport. And those who estimated the Lord as only a powerful being would attain salvation by merging into the Brahmajyoti of the Lord. Right? Prabhupada mentions it clearly in the middle of the purport. Right? Okay, so this is 10 verses of Lord Krishna's pastimes. Right? So it's so wonderful. Like we read all the pastimes. So, see, that's the thing about mood of Bhagavatam. So we read about, chapters 4, 5, 6, all about the creation aspect, right? So it was wonderful to read about the opulence, the greatness of the Lord. But then after that became the Leelas, right? All the Leela avatar. And then the pastime became more sweeter. Varaha, Vamana, Narsimha, Lord Ramchandra. Then it became more sweeter. Oh, so nice interacting. And then comes to the most sweeter, where you come to Vrindavan pastime. And then in the highest Vrindavan pastime, you come to Rasa Leela. So it's all nectar from the creation to the highest Rasa Leela, but there are different gradations of nectar, right? And the highest sweetness is actually revealed in the Rasa Leela or even childhood pastime. Like all Vrindavan pastimes are very special. But the point about Anupalaksha, right? Anupalaksha Margaha in text number 26, how all these Vrindavan pastimes are actually so not easily accessible, So just to make a point that these pastimes, how to get entrance into Vrindavan, is actually not easy. They're very, very rare. Very rare to actually get admission into Vrindavan. But by the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, how Chaitanya Adila reveals his point. When the Lord he came, he showed all these Vrindavan pastimes. And then when he left, he was thinking that I showed all these pastimes, but how will anyone enter into these pastimes? Because everyone is worshipping me with the mood of awe and reverence, with the mood of Aishwarya Bhav. How will they enter? Because in Vrindavan, you have to forget that Krishna is God. You have to forget that Krishna is God. There are two kinds of forgetfulness. Forgetfulness out of ignorance, which is our state here. We forget that Krishna is God and we say, I am God, and we try to enjoy. The other forgetfulness is the forgetfulness by the Yoga Maya Shakti. One is Mahamaya, one is Yoga Maya. So we have to come to a stage where we are actually qualified that Yoga Maya comes and we are so pure that she actually comes and covers our consciousness and we forget that Krishna is God and we are having pastimes with Krishna. We have to come to that stage. So we have to forget that mood of Aishwarya Bhav and we have to come to the mood of sweetness. So Lord Krishna was thinking, I showed all these Vrindavan pastimes, but how will anyone enter into these pastimes? And hence, Lord Chaitanya, that's one of the external reasons for Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's descent. And he actually said, when devotees worship me, worship me, because Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came in the mood of Srimati Radharani. So following that mood of Raga Nuga Bhakti, following the highest Ragatmika Bhakta, Srimati Radharani, then they will actually get entrance into Vrindavan Pasan. So other way of saying this is just by chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra, Nam Nam Akari Bahuda, Krishna has invested his potencies in chanting of Hare Krishna, that by actually chanting Hare Krishna, one will develop that mood of Raga Nuga Bhakti, and by that one can get entrance into Sri Vrindavan Dham. So these pastimes, which are very, very rare, are actually made accessible to us just by the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Otherwise, these pastimes were actually inaccessible to all even devotees. What to talk of devotees? Even Lakshmi ji, even Brahma ji, even Lord Shiva. All these pastimes are actually inaccessible, but they are actually made available to us. Right? So it's a very, very rare blessing that we all have, that we are in this particular age where Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared, where Srila Prabhupada appeared. We are so fortunate. So this happens once in 8.6 billion years, right? Once in 8.6 billion years. Because the day of Brahma is what? 4.3 billion. Night is again 4.3 billion. So 8.6. And once in the day and night of Brahma, does Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appear. So these pastimes have been accessible to us. That's why it says, Anarpita Charim Chirat Karuna Avatina Kilo. Karuna, out of his causeless, the most Mahavadanya avatar, is actually come. And then what does it say? Unnata Ujjvala. Something that has not been given for a very long time. What is that? Access into Vrindavan. And Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has come and is giving us that access. Okay. Okay. So let's stop here quickly. See if you have any comments, questions, realizations. Anyone would like to share any points?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, I got one doubt. Like in all the purports, in the translations, when Mother Yashoda was referred, they don't mention that as Krishna's foster mother. But in 30th, why is Prabhupada mentioning exclusively that Krishna's foster mother, Yashoda?
Let's see. So text 30. Okay. Yeah. The main point is actually, if you see in the Sanskrit, it just uses the word Mata.
Yeah.
So it doesn't directly refer to, the verse is not using the word Yashoda, but you're saying in the other verses.
Like, whenever other verses, like when, when he was in the lap of her mother, there, it doesn't say that foster mother.
The other verses is not even there, right? So if you see 26, okay, 26 is not there. 27, there's no reference in the verse to Mother Yashoda. And then 28, there's no reference to Mother Yashoda.
27, there's his mother, right? When he was just on the lap of his mother to overturn the car. In 27.
Yeah, actually, see, that is a point that Prabhupada added. It's not in the...
Okay, gotcha.
Prabhupada is expanding that point. It doesn't say, it just says Tokena, right? Tokena, killing Uluki Kaya. So it's not directly referred. So that Prabhupada, Prabhupada, like when he translates, many times he like expands beyond just the Sanskrit so that we can understand the meaning. So sometimes like some points from the purport, maybe they're already in the translation. Or sometimes Prabhupada in his translation, he may say a point which is actually in the next verse also, because if you just read that verse separately, you may not understand. So Prabhupada has given it in such a wonderful way that we can really understand. So that's from Prabhupada. And when it actually refers to Mata, then Prabhupada is actually referring that this is Mother Yashoda. So that's it. Okay. Yeah.
I had a question also that where it says Krishna awarded promotion to the residents of Vrindavan. So how to understand that, because they're already they're already the highest level devotees. So what does that mean?
Yeah. So See, there are two ways we can understand this. One way is, yes, there are some like Shrutichari gopis, then the sages from the Dandakaranya forest, like all of them, they actually got promotion to the Vrindavan pastime. So there were certain personalities who, when Lord Krishna appeared, they actually were promoted to Vrindavan pastime. So that is there, right? Then the other aspect is that, yes, when the pastimes were over, one way actually Krishna, he took all the residents of Vrindavan and then he actually took them back to Golok Vrindavan. It wasn't a result of their sadhana for sure, because their sadhana was always perfect, because they are eternal associates of the Lord. So it wasn't the result of the sadhana, but to actually explain to us that if we actually follow in the footsteps of those Rajvasis, or if we actually live a life where we are absorbed in thought of Krishna, then we can also attain the highest perfection. So the Brahma is actually teaching Narad Muni in that way. And the role of Brahma to Narada is as a guru, he's actually explaining, oh, this is how creation takes place, and then these are the Leela avatars. And now, in the mood of a teacher, he's also saying, if you follow this way, then you can also enter into Vrindavan. Right? So it is more coming out of the mood of a teacher, saying that even you can actually attain that success. So this is so okay. Anything else?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Yeah, so I felt like how we are reading Bhagavad Gita, second chapter, Sankhya Yoga, and it's like the summary of the Bhagavad Gita is written in that. So it's like in the same, this chapter is like that, the 10 cantos summary kind of thing is like, even we recite these verses also, we get the sweetness of the Lord of Vrindavan. And Prabhuji, I have one question, Prabhuji, like the liberation, you said like all the 5 kinds of liberations are the Salokya Mukti, Samyapya Mukti. So like the demons, they are thinking about the Lord, but they're thinking in a negative way, Prabhuji. So I heard somewhere like they gave the liberation, but it's like a abhas kind of thing, like not actual those liberations that are mentioned in the 5. Is it true, Prabhuji? Something like that?
Like I can tell you the example of Kamsa. Like, and when Kamsa is actually in the 10th canto, when it actually describes that Kamsa was always thinking of Krishna. Right? He couldn't eat, he couldn't sleep. Always while eating, sleeping, whatever he was doing, was like, Krishna is going to come. He's going to kill me. Like he was so absorbed in Krishna. And then at the end of that pastime in 10th canto, it said like he attains a positive kind of liberation. So there, in that purport, our acharyas do not mention as such that positive kind of liberation. I think it is Salokya, but one of the positive kind of liberation. And there are acharyas do not mention that this is some kind of abhas or anything, because when the Lord appears, the mercy, the mood of mercy when Lord is there is just unparalleled than when the Lord is not personally descending. When the Lord descends, he's just like, whoever is there, just take them, everyone, back home, back to God, that I have come here just for this purpose. So he's very, very merciful in that mood. And and also the other point is how in 7th canto, in the first chapter, it actually makes a point that whether one is thinking of the Lord, like in the mood of affection, or in the mood of lust, or in the mood of anger, or in the mood of enmity, anyway, if someone is thinking of the Lord, he actually gets purified. Right? So 7th canto, first chapter makes that point that whatever way you're thinking of the Lord, yena kena prakarena mana Krishna niveshate, just think about Krishna, and then Narad Muni is actually making the point, in the mood of humility. So like demons, they are thinking of Krishna so intense that even we cannot attain that stage, because they're always thinking, oh, Krishna will come, he'll kill me. And they're so intense. And then Narad Muni is saying that even that level of thinking, they will get purified for sure. So that is my understanding, Mate. I don't know if like our acharyas further explain that point, whether that is abhas or whether that's real liberation. But that we'll have to see. But 7th canto, first chapter really makes the point that whatever way one is thinking, one will get purified, because as soon as you think about Krishna, whether positive or negative, that aspect is there. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Just one doubt on the point. Prabhuji, like Kamsa is thinking on the envious, right, Prabhuji? Like when they get the liberation, the enviousness nature will change to love Prabhuji, or
Yeah. So basically, what is happening is you get purified by either contact with Krishna or thinking of Krishna. The purification is there. So finally, like even when Kamsa was thinking of Krishna in an inimical way, actually he was getting purified from within because he was thinking of Krishna. And finally, when Krishna actually killed Kamsa, he jumped on the dais and dragged Krishna and dragged Kamsa down. And then he killed Kamsa and then he dragged Kamsa like all the way to Mathura, like through to Yamuna. He actually dragged. And at the time, just by the touch of Krishna, he actually got totally purified. Like,
Mm.
really inner inside, every one of us is a lover of Krishna.
Right, right.
So when you get purified, then what comes out? A natural love for Krishna. Right?
Mm.
That's the
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, so let's take a quick break. And then there are a few more incarnations, 3 more, and then 1 Guna avatar. And then so that 4 more verses are there on incarnations. And then it talks about how it is actually impossible to know the glories of Krishna, is like just he's unlimitedly glorified. So it is impossible to know. But there is one way by which we can actually understand the glories of Krishna. So that will be the next section. So we'll come back to that. Okay, so let's take a quick break. Please come back in like 4 minutes. So 8:45, we'll continue. Thank you so much. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.
One more time, a little louder with your heart. Don't say that. One more time, a little louder. One more time, a little louder with your heart. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So please come back, we'll continue. Okay, Hare Krishna. So let's continue. We are in text number 36. Okay, so we'll start.
Kalena milita diyam avamrishya nrinam stokayusham svanigamo batadura paraha avirhitastvan yugo avirhitastvan yugam sahi satyavatyam veda drumam vitapasho vibhajishyati sma.
Is it me, Mataji?
Yes,
Okay. The Lord himself in his incarnation as the son of Satyavati Vyasadeva will consider his compilation of the Vedic literature to be very difficult for the less intelligent persons with short life, and thus he will divide the three of Vedic literature, Vedic knowledge into different branches according to the circumstances of the particular age. Hare Krishna.
So who's this? Oh, there I go. Hare Krishna. Yeah, okay. You can hear me, right? Yeah, okay. So who's this incarnation? This is actually talking of Vyasadeva. So Kalena, in course of time, right? So Brahma is actually saying, okay, after Krishna's incarnation, in course of time, Milita Dhyam, two things will happen. One is what? Milita dhyam, the intelligence will actually be, people will become less intelligent, right? And then stoka ayusham. Ayush means age, stoka means short, right? So people will become short age or short living, right? And rinam, the humanity at large will have these two qualities. Which verse this is? Can we think of when we read these 2 points? Kalena, in course of time, people will be less intelligent, they'll be short-lived. Yes. Prayana alpasya sare, kalo asmin yuge jana, manda sumanda matayo, manda bhagya upadrita. 1110, right? 1110. So there also we read about the qualities of people in Kali Yuga. Right? They'll be short-lived, quarrelsome, lazy, easily disturbed, right? Less intelligent and so on. So here it's saying in course of time, people will have these two qualities. And then ava mrishya. And because of these two qualities, it will be very difficult for them to swanigamaha, to cross this ocean of Vedic literatures. So the Vedic literatures are actually considered as a desire tree, finally for what? To cross over this material ocean and go back to the spiritual world. But because of these qualities, it will be very difficult for them to cross this Vedic desire tree. And hence, what is Vyasdev? Krishna is going to appear as Vyasdev. He'll appear avirhitaha, he'll appear. And then where will he appear? Satyavatyam. Satyavatyam means what? In the womb of Satyavati. Vyasdev appears in the womb of Satyavati. And then what will he do? So we are reading about, see, 2 points, parents and functions, right? So what is the function he will do? Vita Pasha. Pasha means he will divide. He will divide in the entire knowledge of Vedas into the different branches. Right? Vibhajisyati, he will divide them. And Veda Druma, right? So the entire Veda, he will divide. But how will he do it? Anuyugam. Anuyugam means based on the circumstance in that present age, right? So based on understanding that, now the people of Kali Yuga are going to be so degraded. So based on them, how can I divide the Vedas so that they can understand it? And that is the function of Vyasadeva. So Prabhupada in this purport, he actually says that here Brahma is mentioning the future compilation of Srimad Bhagavatam. Because after Vyasadeva compiles all these, he does the different branches. We read that in the first canto, 6th chapter, right? He does the different branches. 4th chapter, right? 4th chapter. After he does the different branches, then he just feels dissatisfied, and then Narad Muni comes and says, what is that verse? What's the verse? 1510 and 1511.
Is that about the crows?
Yes.
Tadvag Visargo
Janataga Viplovo Yasmin Prati Shloka Abadyavatati Namani Anantasi Yashanti Tanicha Srimanti Gayanti Grahanti Sadhava. So actually Narad gave all these instructions and then Vyasadeva compiled Srimad Bhagavatam. So Prabhupada said this is actually Brahma is predicting that this glorious literature, Srimad Bhagavatam, Krishna is going to come in the form of Vyasadeva and present this literature for the benefit of everyone. And then Prabhupada talks about this in Kali Yuga, how people are less intelligent. Why are they less intelligent? Some may say now we have iPhone 14, now we'll have 15, there'll be 16. We are so intelligent. But Prabhupada says so Prabhupada says real advancement of knowledge actually means to progress on the path of self-realization. Real advancement of knowledge means how we can actually understand who we are, come closer to our path back home, back to God. That is real knowledge. Otherwise, advancement of knowledge in terms of material comforts is simply knowledge in the mode of ignorance. That is not real knowledge. Real knowledge is only the knowledge that actually helps us progress in self-realization. But in Kali Yuga, people live for 60, 80, 100 years. But even that, they consider, okay, this life of my 60 years, that is all in all. So hence they just focus, how, if I live for 60 years, how can I make my body more comfortable, more convenient? And that is the entire focus of their existence. And hence, Prabhupada said, such people are described as equal to asses. donkeys and asses, like Prabhupada often uses this word, right? And it's actually from the Srimad Bhagavatam in 10 Canto, 84th chapter, in Prayers of the Vedas. In that text number 13, Prabhupada often quotes this word, Yasyatma buddhi kunupeti dhatuke swadhi kalatradeshu bhome ijadhi yat tirtha buddhe shalilan na karichit janeshu abhigeshu sa eva go kharaha. Those are actually compared to asses. What are they? The people who actually consider the body, which is made of mucus, bile, and air, to be their real identity. They consider their wife, their family, permanently their own. They consider the place where they have taken birth as a place of worship. And they consider when we go to holy places, we just go to take bath in the holy place, just to give away our sins, but not for progressing in our spiritual life by hearing from saints. Such people, they are just compared to asses. So that's, so when Prabhupada calls, dogs, camels, asses, it's all from our Shastra. Prabhupada is not making that up, right? So here also Prabhupada says, such people are actually equal to asses. Okay, and then Prabhupada concludes, the Lord is so merciful that he actually gave us the Srimad Bhagavatam and Mahabharata and all these different scriptures. Okay, 37.
Devadvisham nigamavartmani nishtitanam purvirmayena vihitabhiradrishyaturbhi lokan gnatam ati vimoham ati pralobham vesham vidhaya bahubhashyata aupadarmyam.
When the atheist, after being well versed in the Vedic scientific knowledge, annihilate inhabitants of different planets, flying unseen in the sky on well-built rockets prepared by the great scientist Maya, the Lord will bewilder their minds by dressing himself attractively as Buddha and will preach on sub-religious principles.
So, Aupadharma, right, means sub-religious principles. So, not real dharma, but something that's close to dharma, right? So that's what Buddha. So this is talking of the incarnation of Buddha, and then it says Deva Dusham. So those who are envious of the Deva or the devotees of the Lord, then what will they do? They actually, even though they know the Shastras, they are actually Nigama Vartmani. They are well versed with the Shastras, but they will actually use the Shastras to actually create Purvi Mayena. They'll create rockets made by great scientist Maya, and unseen in the sky, they'll actually annihilate the inhabitants of different planets, right? So that's what envious people are going to do. And then the Lord will actually appear as Buddha. And what will he do? Ati pralobham vesham. He'll come in a very attractive dress, and then mati vimoha. Vimoha means to bewilder. And he'll bewilder the minds of all these people by bahu bhasyate, by speaking, by talking a lot. He'll say so many things that the mind of these people will actually be bewildered. And then by that, he'll actually preach sub-religious principles. Right? Now, what is this about people who are well-versed in the Shastra? They'll make rockets unseen in the sky. They will kill the inhabitants of different planets. So actually, let's see. So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur actually makes this point that yes, this verse is talking of Buddha, but not the Buddha from this particular Kali Yuga. So he's talking of a Buddha from a different Kali Yuga, where at that time, so in this particular Kali Yuga, what happened? People were still Nigama. They were still Nigama Vartamani. They knew the Shastras, but they were misusing the Shastra to support what? Animal killing. And hence Buddha came, preached non-violence. In some other Kali Yuga, people were misusing the Vedas and actually building some, some cities or some rockets, and they were using that to actually kill the people of other planets. And then Buddha had to come and actually teach them the philosophy of ahimsa. So both cases, either this Kali Yuga or the other one, he's preaching the same concept of ahimsa, right? Upadharma. It is near religion, but it is not real religion. Right? So what is Upadharma? More based on moral principles. So Prabhupada explains this point in the purport that ahimsa itself is not a religious principle, right? Ahimsa itself is just a moral principle. And moral principles are different from religious principles. Now in Kali Yuga, the problem is people equate moral principles to religious principles. They say, if my child is moral and everything is doing everything morally, that means he's religious. But no. Morality is a standard that is required to actually become more religious. But morality itself is not a religion. Right? So Prabhupada actually explains this point in a purport that right, so that people are mostly materialistic, and Prabhupada says, so to actually even teach people this policy of ahimsa, the philosophy of ahimsa, then first he had to teach them humility and pridelessness. Right, and hence it is actually said that he came in a very attractive form and he spoke all these words. Bahu, what's the Sanskrit they use? Bahu bhasyate. And when he spoke all these words, and people actually became humble. They said, like, oh, he knows so much. So first is humility, they became prideless, and then he talked of non-violence. But non-violence is not the perfection. So after non-violence, one should develop tolerance, simplicity of living. Then after that, one should offer respect to religious preachers, basically come in contact with devotees. Then in the association of devotees, one should control one's senses, and then with a mood of detachment, they should engage in devotional service. And coming to the point of unmotivated, uninterrupted devotion, that is the highest dharma, not ahimsa. Ahimsa is just a step. So it is first prideless, humility, then ahimsa, moral principle. Then from ahimsa, some tolerance, some simplicity of living. Then we come in contact with devotees, then we learn from the devotees, then we actually engage in devotional service. So that is the perfection of religion, right? But Lord Buddha, to actually, because people are misusing the Vedas, he had to come and actually just reintroduce the Vedas. Right? So he actually, he had to do the part where they would eventually come to the point of the Vedas. So he actually just taught them moral principles, and then after Shankaracharya comes, and then the four acharyas, and they bring back the Vedas. Right? Okay. Is that okay? This point about Buddha? Yeah. Okay. So next verse, 38.
Yaryalayeshya vapi satam nahare katasyu pashandino dvijajana vishalan nirdevaha swaha swadhava shaditi smagiro nayatra shashta bhavishyati kaler bhagavan yugante.
Translation Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thereafter, at the end of Kali Yuga, when there exist no topics on the subject of God, even at the residence of so-called saints and respectable gentlemen of the three higher caste, and when the power of government is transferred to the hands of ministers elected from the low-born Shudra class, or those less than them, and when nothing is known of the techniques of sacrifice, even by word, at that time the Lord will appear as the supreme Chastier. Hare Krishna.
Okay. So which incarnation is this? Kalki.
Kalki.
Right? So here it says, Bhavishyati will appear Shasta. Shasta means as a chastiser. So in the different incarnations, the Lord comes, he shows different pastimes, he preaches as Lord Kapila Dev, preaches a philosophy, but when he will come at the end of Kali Yuga, then there is no room for preaching, and he's just going to chastise. And when will that happen? 4 points are actually being made in this purport, in this verse, and we can see how Kali Yuga is actually progressing towards these 4 points. Okay, so first point, it says, Aleshu Satam. Like Satam means devotees. So Aleshu, like Alaya, right? A place. So even the place where devotees, where there's a residence of devotees, na Harer Katha. So even in the house of devotees, there's no Hari Katha. First thing, right? So even in the house of civilized gentlemen, no Hari Katha. First problem. Second thing, Pashandina Dvija Janaha. Pashandi means what? The cheater or an atheist. Right? These atheists themselves will act as if, oh, I am very learned. I am a Dvija. I am a Brahmana. Do we see that in Kali Yuga? Yeah, Brahmanas, they may have no knowledge of the Vedas, but they say, I am born a Brahmana. See my thread, right? And they show their white thread, right? So, but they may be just partially. So, second, we see that in Kali. Third thing, Vrishala, Nradeva. This is actually very, very evident. What is that? Nradeva means what? The Deva means demigods, right? Or the masters of the Nra, the people. So, who are the masters of the people? The government, and the government will be run by what? Vrishalaha. Vrishalaha means the low class Shudras. Now, do we see the government run by low class Shudras? Very prominently. Right? The government is just run by low class Shudras. The third symptom. And then fourth symptom, it says never ever, what's that? Then, yeah, na yatra, never anywhere, right? Na yatra. What? Three things: swaha, swadha, and vasat. Right? So three things. Swaha means the Vedic hymns, right? Chanting of Om, Swaha, right? Vedic hymns. Then Swadha, the ingredients of sacrifice. Vasat is the altar of sacrifice. So all these three will never be seen. So that means there will be no sacrifice performed in this age. Right? So when these four things happen, that even in the house of civilized gentlemen, in the house of devotees, there is no chanting of the holy name of the Lord. Then the atheists will claim to be Brahmanas, second point. Then the lower class Shudras will become the government ministers, and nowhere will you actually see any form of sacrifice. Then the Lord will actually appear and he'll just chastise all the people as Kalki Avatar. Right? So Prabhupada then actually says this is the worst condition of godlessness, that all these four symptoms will become prominent. Okay. So Prabhupada elaborates on this, and he talks of what is a Dvijajana, right? It says Pashandi will become Dvijajana. Dvijajana means what? Twice born. First birth from our parents, but it's important to have the second birth. Second birth is from a spiritual master. Taking initiation, studying, getting trained in the Shastras. That is important. Otherwise, it's just simply Shudra life. Right? Okay, and then Prabhupada also makes the point that it says that Pashandi will become will claim to be Dvijana. But what is the way to recognize a Dvijana? How do you recognize a Dvijana? A twice born person.
Are the qualities of a Brahmana?
Okay,
not follow the Brahmana's sanskara.
Yeah, so seeing the qualities of a Brahmana, and the qualities of a Brahmana are given in Bhagavad Gita, 18th chapter, text 41, right? So it talks of quality of Brahmana. In this purport, Prabhupada is focusing on that you can see if a person is really a Dvijana by the proportion of knowledge in the science of God. Right? Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu actually makes this point. Ye Krishna Tattva Veta se Guru Boy. So we don't accept anyone who does not know the science of Krishna, the science of God, or their Tattva Gyan. If he knows the Tattva Gyan, to the proportion he knows Tattva Gyan, to that extent he is a Dvija. So that's the main point. So without knowledge of science of God, you may be able to say so many shlokas, say this Purana, that Purana, but all those are simply decorations over a dead body, Prabhupada says. Like dead body, you decorate it. What's the value? Similarly, all these, you may know so many Puranas, but if you do not know Tattva Gyan, then it is of no value. Okay. Text 39.
Sorry.
Oh, no. So I just want to mention the last part. Okay, so now we see all these four things in Kali Yuga, right? So someone may say, now it is time for Kalki to appear, right? All these four things are happening, but not yet. Not yet. Why? Because Prabhupada actually mentioned, because we can reintroduce the principles of Dvija by training people in the science of God consciousness, and this can be achieved. How can this be achieved? How can this be achieved? By actually spreading Srimad Bhagavatam all over the world. Because we have Srimad Bhagavatam, we have the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, there is still hope. There is still hope. Otherwise, all these symptoms are progressing. But because Bhagavatam is there, the more we distribute Bhagavatam, Prabhupada says, this can be done by expanding the culture of Srimad Bhagavatam all over the world. Right? And that's why we have this Bhadra campaign. And this is actually what is going to save the world from the darkness of godlessness. Okay, 39.
Sarge tapoham rishayo navaye prajesha stane tadharma makamanvamagavanishaha ante tadharma haramanyu vasharuda radya maya vibhutaya ima purushakti bhajana.
At the beginning of the creation, there are Penance, myself, Brahma, and the Prajapatis, the great sages who generate. Then, during the maintenance of the creation, there are Lord Vishnu, the demigods with controlling powers, and the kings of different planets. But at the end, there is irreligion. And then Lord Shiva and the atheists full of anger, etc. All of them are different representative manifestations of the energy of the supreme power, the Lord. Hare Krishna.
Okay, so up to this point, we read about the different Leela avatars. Now, this verse is actually talking of the vibhutis of the Guna avatars. Right? Guna avatars means the appearance of Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh. Right? So, Lord Brahma as the Lord of the mode of passion, Vishnu as the Lord of the mode of goodness, Shiva as the Lord of the mode of ignorance. So, this is talking of the opulences of these three Guna avatars. Right? So if you see the verse in Sanskrit, first line, first word, what is it? Sarge. Sarge means the Sarga, Visarga, Sthana at the time of beginning of creation, right? It's first. Second line is Sthane. Sthane means what? Maintenance. So in the middle of creation. Third line, first word, Ante, at the end of creation. Right? So it's very nice. So every line, first word, beginning, middle, and end. So at the start of creation, what happens? Right? So it says, in start of creation, Aham, I, Brahma, myself, I perform tapaha. Right? So there's Brahma, there is austerity, then there's the Prajapati, right? So it says here, Prajeshaha, the Prajapatis, right? So those are the personalities at the time of beginning. Then Sthane, in the middle of creation, what is that? Dharma, Makaha. Dharma means religion, Maka means sacrifice. Manu, father of mankind. Amara, demigods. Avanishaha, kings of different planets. So all those are there for the maintenance. And then Ante, at the end, what is that? Adharma, irreligion. Hara, Lord Shiva. And then Asura, Asura Adhyaha. Right? So Asura Adhyaha, Prabhupada translates as atheists and enemies of devotees. Okay, so in the beginning, in the middle, and end, all these personalities are there. But who are all these personalities? All of them are Maya Vibhutayaha, are actually different representative manifestations of the energy of the supreme power. Right? So basically, at the beginning, Brahma, the austerities, the Prajapatis, in the middle, Dharma, sacrifice, then in the end, Adharma, Hara, all of them are only representative manifestations of the energy of the Lord. Nothing is outside of the energy of the Lord. Right? So this is actually talking of the vibhutis of the Guna avatar. Right? So where in the 10th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, what does Krishna talk about? Vibhuti yoga, right? Talks of so many different vibhutis. But at the end, what does he say? Ekam stena sthito jagat. Oh Arjun, what is the need of all these different vibhutis? Just by a fragment of myself, I pervade and maintain this entire universe. Right? So just by Lord's vibhutis, everything is happening. Creation, maintenance, annihilation. Okay. Okay. Any questions up to this point? So that completes this section of the this chapter. And the next section is how can you finally know the God? The Lord is so glorious. We have read like every avatar. He does such extraordinary activities, so much opulence, so much power, and so much magnificence. How can anyone know the glories of the Lord? Right. So that is the next section. Okay. Any questions? Any comments up to this point? Okay. okay, all the Leela avatars, and then finally the last one, Vibhuti of Guna avatar. Right? Okay, so next go, text number 40. So 40 to 46 is basically how it is actually impossible to know the glory of the Lord, but it is possible by only one method. And what is that one method?
Devotional service.
Devotional service. Conclusion of Bhagavatam is what? Devotional service. Again and again. Conclusion of Brahmaji to Narad Muni is what? Devotional service. Everywhere, if you see all these great personalities, all the entire Srimad Bhagavatam is just bringing one to the point of taking up devotional service to the Lord. Right? Okay, so let's read text 40.
Vishnor Nuvirya Gananam Katamor Hatiha Ya Parthivan Yaktikavir Vimamir Jamsi Chaskambayasva Rasasas Kalata Triprishtam Yasmat Trisamya Sadanat Urukampayanam.
Hare Krishna. Who can describe completely the prowess of Vishnu? Even the scientist, who might have counted the particles of atoms of the universe, cannot do so, because it is he only who, in his form of a Trivikrama, moved his leg effortlessly beyond the topmost planet, Satyaloka, up to the neutral state of 3 modes of material nature, and all were moved.
Okay, so this verse is saying, so the theme of the next 6 verses are kind of similar. I mean, the first 2 will say that how it is impossible to know the glories, and then after it talks of how we can know the glories. So in this verse, it says, it starts off by saying, Vishnu na virya gananam, gananam, like who can count the glories, right? We know ganana actually refers to maths, right? To count, right? So who can count the virya, the prowess of Vishnu, right? Who is able to do that, right? Even if Parthivani means the atoms, even if someone is able to count the Kavi, some great scientist is able to count the particles of atoms in this entire universe, who can do that? No one, right? But even if someone can do that, count the number atoms, particles of atoms in this entire universe, if someone can count that, still he will not be able to count the glories of the Lord. Why? Because this Lord, this Lord is so great that Swarahasa, so easily, just by the movement of his legs, what did he do? He actually expanded, as Vamanadeva, as Trivikrama, he actually expanded his leg in such a way that three Prishtam, it actually covered the topmost planetary system, and then he pierced through the 7 coverings of the material universe and pierced through the hole so that even the causal ocean entered into the water. Very effortlessly. As Vamanadev, he just expanded. And then when he was expanding, all the personalities up to Brahmalok, up to Satyalok, all of them were what? Uru Kampayanam. That means they were trembling in fear. That what is happening? What is happening? And that even great personality of Brahma, they are actually trembling. The entire universe was paralyzed by seeing, oh, what is happening? What is happening? Who is this personality? But the Lord very effortlessly, just by the movement of his leg, created all this. Who can understand the glories of that Lord? Right? You see the comparison there? Like a small boy comes and with his leg, he covers the entire universe and he makes Brahma and all the personalities shiver in fear. And not only that, he pierces this entire material universe and he causes the Ganges to descend. Just a small boy, just with little bit of his, very easily he does it. Who can imagine what is the real glories of that person? Even if someone can count the entire atoms in this universe, still he will not be able to count the glories of the Lord. Right? Okay. So Prabhupada actually makes a point in purport. He says, even the highest scientific advancement, we talk about atomic energy, but even still, they cannot count the atoms. No one can count the atoms in this entire universe, right? So what to talk of even this tiny universe, which is just like one of the particles coming from the breath of Mahavishnu, one cannot calculate the atoms. So what to talk of calculating the glories of the Supreme Personality of Godhead? Therefore, no one is equal to or greater than the Lord himself. Okay. So text 41. Is okay the verse? Please stop me if you have something not clear. Yeah? Okay, text 41.
Nantam vidamyaham amimuna yoga jaste maya balasya purushasya puto varaye gayan gunan dashasatanana adi devaha shesho dhunapi samavasyati nasya param.
Neither I nor all the sages born before you know fully the omnipotent personality of Godhead. So what can others who are born after us know after him? Even the first incarnation of the Lord, namely Shesha, has not been able to reach the limit of such knowledge, although he is describing the qualities of the Lord with 10,100 verses.
Here what is saying, na anantam vidamami. So even I, aham, I do not know the glories of the Lord, and nor all the sages who are born before you, Narada. Right? So it says, munayaha agrajaha. Agrajaha means one who are born before you. So neither I nor all the sages born before you. Then what is it? Maya balasya. Maya balasya means neither I nor all the sages can know the glories of this, the external energy of the Lord, right? This Maya energy of the Lord. We cannot know the glories, right, of the Maya energy. So what to speak of the spiritual energy? That is actually beyond our reach, right? And then further it says kutaha. Kutaha means what to speak of others, who are born after us. So even those who are I and those born before you cannot understand. So what to speak of those after us, right? And even a dasha shata anaha, one who has 1,000 faces, Adi Devaha, the first incarnation of the Lord as Ananta Shesh. He, Ananta Shesh, with his 1,000 faces, is actually glorifying the Lord, but still he can na asya param. He cannot reach the limit of those glories. So imagine the Lord has 3 different potencies, right? Internal, external, marginal. And actually, each one of these potencies is infinite. Right? Marginal potency is a jiva. How many jivas are there? What does Bhagavad Gita say? Sarvagata. Everywhere there are jivas. Right? Once we were in a university, speaking from the Gita, and then we're talking of spirit soul. And then one student came and said, so in your body, how many spirit souls are there? Is it one or many? Actually, we don't even know how many spirit souls are there in our body. Because, yes, spirit soul is us. But how many worms, how many, whatever, like worms and then other living entities are there within our body? Don't even know. And every living entity is what? Atma. Right? So how many living entities are there within our body? We don't even know. How many bodies are, and we are so insignificant. So even if you consider marginal potency, infinite, sarvagata, they are living entities. External energy, now Brahma is saying, I cannot find a limit to your external energy. Nor anyone before you can find limit to your external energy. What to talk of the spiritual energy? That is actually beyond our reach. Beyond our reach. And then even Ananta Shesh, at the time of creation, right? Ananta Shesh actually on his hood, the entire material universe actually rests on his hood. And from that time, Ananta Shesh is with 1,000 mouths, is continuously glorifying the Lord. But still, he cannot reach the end of the glorification. So who can access this Lord? Who can know this Lord? Right? Okay, so next verse, let's see.
Yesham sa esha bhagavan dayayed anantaha sarvatmanashrita pado yadinirvalikam te dushtaram atitaranti cha deva mayam naisham maham itidhi shvashridala bhakshe. But anyone who is specifically favored by the Supreme Lord, the personality of Godhead, due to unalloyed surrender unto the service of the Lord, can overcome the insurmountable ocean of illusion and can understand the Lord. But those who are attached to this body, which is meant to be eaten at the end by dogs and jackals, cannot do so.
Okay, so one may, in the previous two verses, one may say like, okay, so no one can know the glories of the Lord, right? So it is impossible. Brahma cannot know, sages before Narad cannot know, Ananta Shesh is glorifying, he does not reach. So how can anyone know the glories? So I will not even try. Yeah? No, the question is, and who can know the glories of the Lord? Someone should be able to know, right? So this verse is giving the answer. He says, Yesham ya esha, only unto those personalities, Bhagwan dayayed antah. Daya means what? Mercy. Only unto those personalities when the Lord bestows his specific mercy, right? And Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur actually says, when the Lord himself comes and tells, let this person know me, only then can that person know the Lord. The Lord has to be pleased, and he says, oh, let this person know me. Like he has to say, so unless one is specifically favored by the Lord, one cannot know the glories of the Lord, right? And then further it says, and when one is specifically favored by the Lord, then what happens? Dustaram ati tarati deva maya. Then he can cross over this ocean of Maya, right? You can cross over this ocean of Maya. So which is that verse that one can cross over the ocean of Maya? Anyway, I'll come to that later. And you can think of some verses. So Dustaram ati taranti, right? The Maya, which is actually insurmountable, can be overcome by Deva Maya, by that ocean of mercy. So there's an ocean of material world, and that can only be overcome by the ocean of mercy, which the Krishna has to personally give, right? You have to be specifically favored. And when will the Lord specifically favor someone? Is he impartial, saying that, oh, I'll favor this person I will not favor? What is the qualification to actually receive the favor of the Lord, right? So then the verse says, Nirvya likam. Nirvyalikam is one who is without material desires. Or proper translate, without any pretension. Okay, that's the first qualification. Second qualification is Ashrita Padaha. Ashrita Padaha means one who is a surrendered soul. Only, so which verse I am thinking in Bhagavad Gita? Only a surrendered soul can cross over the insurmountable ocean of this material world. Mama Maya Duratya, right? Similar word, Dustaram, right? Duratya Mam Eva Ye Prapadante Maya Metam Tantil. So he said, only one who is surrendered soul, Ashrita Padaha, who is without pretension, Nirvyalikam, and then third one, he says, Sarvatmana, who has actually taken the shelter of the Lord with indifference to karma and jnana. That basically like anya bilasita sunyam, jnana karma anavrita. So that bhakti has to be without karma and jnana. That is the sarvatmana. It has to be pure devotional service. Only those who are actually engaged in pure devotional service, they are qualified to receive the mercy of the Lord, by which the Lord will come to them and say, let this person know me. And that's how we can actually know the Lord. Right? Otherwise, the Lord is not manifested to those who are what? Here it says, Mama Aham, who are in the concept of Aham Mameti. Right? Aham Mameti means the concept of I and mine. They are attached to this body and everything related to the body. And they are attached to the body, which is actually what? Here it says, Swa Srigala Bhakshe. The body is just meant to be eaten by dogs and jackals. It's giving like a real contrast. That's so foolish are these people. They are attached to their body and they don't even realize when the soul leaves the body will be eaten by dogs and jackals. For them, certainly the Lord is not going to reveal himself. Naham Prakasha Sarvasa. Lord will not reveal himself. Only those who are actually these three qualities, was Ashrita Padaha, was surrender, or Nirvyalikam, or without material desire, and who was Sarvatmana, that devotion is without any coverings of karma and jnana. Only to those persons the Lord actually reveals himself. A very beautiful verse. Is that okay, this verse? Yeah, okay. Okay, so Prabhupada in the purport, he talks about like how only unalloyed devotees of the Lord can know the glories of the Lord. And how do they know? They know, like we say, God is great. But no one knows how great God is. But only unalloyed devotees can know how great Lord is and how great the energies of the Lord is. So knowing Krishna means knowing Krishna and all his infinite energies. And only a devotee knows both of this. Right? And then Prabhupada talks about those who are attached to the body. They consider the self to be everything. And even, they consider, okay, either taking care of my body or the body of my children or the body of my countrymen or community. And in that way, they engage in so many philanthropic, altruistic activities, but none of them can go beyond the jurisdiction of this body. Right? So as long as you're engaged even in so many philanthropic works, altruistic work, you're still attached to the body. So no way Krishna will reveal himself to us unless you come to a stage of pure devotion. So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur in this purport, and this is a famous verse that Prabhupada also quotes, it's quoted in CC Madhya 1261. CC Madhya 1261. Nayam Atma Pravachanena Labhyo Na Medhaya Na Bahuna Shrutena. Right, so you can see this verse. Prabhupada often quotes this argument. Yam evesha vrinute tena labhyas taseva atma vrivita tanum swam. Right. So what is this verse? It says, Nayam atma pravachanena, Supreme Lord, cannot be understood by pravachanena labhyo, by expert explanations. Someone might come and give expert explanation. No, the Lord cannot be understood by that. No medhaya. Someone may be very intelligent. No, the Lord cannot be understood by that. Na bahuna shrutena, even for hearing for a long time. That does not mean that he knows the Lord. But the only way, yam eva esha, when the Lord himself, says, chooses a person and says, tasvaiva atma brahmita tanu swam. He says, to this person, I will manifest my form. Only to that person, the Lord can be known. Right, so that's a nice verse you can refer. CC Madhya 1261, and Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur quotes that verse for this purport. For this, he quotes this verse in his explanation to this verse. Okay.
No, it's maybe a different one, different number.
No, it's not that CC Madhya 1261, but in the purport to that, Prabhupada quotes this verse.
Oh, okay.
So is this verse clear? Like, first two verses are saying that how the Lord cannot be understood. It's like impossible. And the third verse says, yes, the Lord can be understood. The only when the infinite chooses to reveal himself to the finite jiva, then the Lord can be understood. Right? That's the only way. Swayam eva spurate ada. Right? Which is that verse? Atha Shri Krishna Namadi na bhave gayam indriya sevan mukhe hi jivado swayam eva spurate. Only when Krishna swayam eva, he says, okay, this person is qualified, let me reveal himself. And then the Lord reveals himself. Okay, so we'll just do 43, 45 and we'll stop. This is 3 verses together. Actually, let's skip the Sanskrit. There's a list of all these personalities. We'll just do the English since we are running out of time. Go ahead. English.
Is it Sridhar Muthuti or not? Okay, I will read it. Krishna. Oh Narada, although the potencies of the Lord are unknowable and immeasurable, still because we are all surrendered souls, we know how he acts through Yoga Maya potencies. And similarly, the potencies of the Lord are also known to all the powerful Shiva, the great king of the atheist family, namely Prahlada Maharaja, Swayambhu Manu, his wife Satrupa, his sons and daughters like Priyavarta, Uttanapada, Akuti, Devahuti, and Prasuti, Prasinambari, Rabu Anga, the father of Veena, Maharaja Droha, Ikshwaku, Aila, Muskunda, Maharaja Janaka, Ghadi, Raghu, Ambarisha, Sagara, Gaya, Nahusha, Mandahata, Alakara, Sata Dhuve, Davne, Anu, Ranti Deva, Bhishma, Bali, Amrutharya, Dilipa, Subahari, Udhanka, Sibi, Devala, Pippalada, Saraswata, Uddhava, Parasara, Burishena, Ibishana, Hanuman, Sukadeva Goswami, Arjuna, Arstisena, Vidura, Sruta Deva, extra. Hare Krishna.
So again, like a huge list. Why is this huge list here? Because someone will say, okay, 41 said impossible to know. 42 says possible, but pure devotee, and you have to have these qualifications. Now, one may think that, what is the hope for me? What is the hope for me? Like so many, like people cannot understand. Brahma is saying, I cannot understand that. What is the hope for me? Then here, Brahma is giving hope. He says, oh Narada, actually so many personalities, to so many personalities, the Lord has shown his mercy. And hence they know the glories of the Lord. So it is possible for us also. So he says, although the potencies of the Lord are unknowable and immeasurable. So two qualifications, unknowable and immeasurable. It is infinite. Still, because we are all surrendered souls. So Brahma is including that I know about the Lord. Why? Because the Lord has shown his mercy upon me and to all these different personalities. And now we know how the Lord acts through his different potencies, right? And the whole list. Okay, so basically, like Brahma is giving us hope that all these personalities, if you see further in Bhagavatam, we are going to read about all these personalities. So if you see 2.7, this chapter entire is actually a trailer for the entire Bhagavatam. Because all the personalities here, Prahlad we are going to read, Swayambhu Manu we are going to read, his wife Shatarupa, his sons Priyavarta, Uttanapad, Akuti, Devahuti, Prasuti. That is going to be 3rd canto, 4th canto, 5th canto, right? Dhruva Maharaj, again 4th canto, Muchukunda, Maharaj Janaka. All these personalities we are going to read about, right? So all of them have received the mercy of the Lord, and hence they are actually here in the Srimad Bhagavatam, right? And hence they know the glories of the Lord. So Prabhupada in the purport, he actually makes a very wonderful point. He says, how do these personalities know? It is not by some mental speculation, not by their limited senses they know the Lord. All of them know the Lord only because they actually surrendered unto the Lord. They took up the path of devotional service that is described in the previous verse of text 42. And hence they know. Therefore, any sane person, not an insane person, any sane person, what should he do? He should actually give up speculating using the mind, using his tiny brain, and he should learn how to surrender unto the Supreme Personality of God. That's it. So give up your speculative method. Give up trying to understand the Lord with our limited senses. Just learn how to surrender unto the Lord. And how do we learn how to surrender unto the Lord? By acknowledging all these personalities and following in the footsteps of these personalities. And that's how we will learn how to surrender unto the Lord. Okay. So that's us, right? And then as we surrender, the Lord proportionately will reveal his glories upon us, right? Ye yatham mam prapadante Tams tathaiva brajamya. So as we progress in bhakti, to that extent, the Lord is going to reveal himself to us. Okay, verse 940. So the last verse is 46 is actually very much connected to a theme. So if it's okay, we'll just complete this last verse and stop. So you can just read the English translation. I'll just quickly summarize. Maybe next time I can elaborate a little bit more, but it's very beautiful connected to this verses. Go ahead. Someone can read English translation.
Surrendered souls, even from groups leading sinful lives, such as women, the laborer class, the mountaineers, and the Siberians, or even the birds and beasts, can also know about the signs of Godhead and become liberated from the clutches of the illusory energy by surrendering unto the pure devotees of the Lord and by following in their footsteps in devotional service.
So, one may say that, okay, in the previous verse, all these great personalities are mentioned. I am no one. Is there hope for me to know the Lord? Is there any hope? And here it is saying that even people from sinful backgrounds, right? It talks of laborer class, mountaineers, Siberians, birds, beasts, all these sinful categories, even they, right? So even such persons undoubtedly can surpass Atitaranti, again the word Atitaranti, can surpass this Deva Mayam, this covering energy of the Lord. How? Then the Sanskrit actually says, let's see, Adbhut Kram, Yadi. They can do it, Yadi. If what is the condition? And two things are actually given. So, Adbhuta Krama Parayanaha. Adbhuta Krama means one who actually does Adbhuta activities. That is the Lord. Parayanaha means what? One who is a devotee of the Lord, right? So those who are devotees of the Lord, what should one do? Two things, Shilaha and Shikshaha. So even those from a sinful background can cross over, surpass the covering energy of the Lord if they do these two things. Shilaha and Shikshaha. Shilaha means they learn the behavior and qualities of the devotees of the Lord. And second, they are actually trained by the devotees of the Lord. Right? So very beautiful verse. So previous verse actually said, it is possible you surrender unto the Lord. But someone may say, I am so sinful. I don't know where is Krishna. How can I surrender to Krishna? I don't even have faith that Krishna exists. How can I surrender unto him? But this verse said, but you see devotees of Krishna? Yes, I see devotees of Krishna. Learn from them. Learn the behavior, the Shila, the qualities, and learn the behavior and the qualities of the devotees. So how it is important to study the life of the devotee, right? Learning the life of Srila Prabhupada. So many wonderful, like the entire life of Srila Prabhupada. When we learn the behavior and qualities of devotees, and then we get trained by these devotees, then we can also cross over the ocean of material world and know the glories of the Lord, right? So we may not directly be able to surrender unto the Lord, but we can surrender unto the devotees of the Lord. We can know their glories and we can be trained by them. And the last part says, Tidyak Janaha, even those who are not human beings, right? So even those who are not human beings, they can attain this perfection. So what to speak of those who are human beings, who are actually Shruta Dharanaha, who actually hear from the mouth of a guru. So even the animals can have that good fortune. What to speak of human beings who are actually hearing from the mouth of a Shruta Dharana, or basically a spiritual master. How quickly can they know the glories of the Lord? Okay, I'll stop here. Maybe next time we can just quickly revise this 46. And a very, very nice point. So our whole hope is to learn about the glories of the devotees and to be trained by the devotees of the Lord. And that's it. Then we can know the Lord will reveal himself to us. Okay, so we'll stop here. Granta Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Vanchakalpatarubhyasya kripa sindhubheva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Anyone wants to quickly share any points from today and just quickly and rapid round? Any quick point and you can drop.
In the previous section, you mentioned about the mood of the consciousness of demons, how they get liberation. I was trying to recall where I've heard this before. It's in Lagu Bhagavatamrita. I think chapter 5, 49 describes based on their mood. There is the example of Shishupal.
Okay. Lagu Bhagavatam, chapter 5?
Yeah, 49.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, Prabhu, I'll look into that. If you have the words or something, you can post in the group also. That'll be very... Thank you. Thank you so much, Prabhu. I should write that down. Okay. Anyone else? Any quick realizations on today?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, I like the point that whatever you do, activities, maybe we are doing material activities, but if you are absorbed in the thoughts of Krishna, that's the perfection.
Thank you, Mataji. Thank you. Very nice point. Anyone else?
Prabhuji, the last point that you mentioned, Prabhuji, yeah, even though don't have knowledge, but follow the devotee footsteps and learn from them, study their life.
Yeah, study their life. Yeah, learn the qualities and behavior of the devotees, and you get trained by them. And by that, we can actually have some success. Very nice. Thank you.
Prabhuji, I heard like only the human form of life is eligible for liberation, Prabhuji. Is it not the case, Prabhuji?
So the point is actually made that even we have extreme examples of even animals who are able to cross over. And what is a good example here? Gajendra, right? The Gajendra, the elephant, and he attained perfection. So here normally the standard is only human beings can, but because this verse is actually taking it that no, it is possible, even animals can actually do it. So hence humans for sure they can do it. So it's like Brahma in the last few verses is giving hope to all of us that no, it is possible. We can also know Krishna. And hence he's taking that extreme. There are some exceptions of even animals attain perfection. So human beings can certainly attain perfection. Okay. Is that okay, Prabhu?
Thank you very much, Prabhuji.
Okay. Any other quick points before we stop?
Prabhu, you mentioned, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Mataji.
Yeah, so Prabhuji, you mentioned the level of surrender we have. Krishna reciprocates in that extent actually. That's very nice point, Prabhuji. So we have to increase our surrender. Yes, Prabhuji.
Very proportionate. The more we surrender, more Krishna reveals. So step by step, we can realize that. Thank you. Anything else? Good.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, I like the point that just by chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, we get the entrance into the Vrindavan Dham.
That special potency of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Yeah. Like by chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra, hopefully we come to a stage of Raganuga Bhakti and then we actually enter Vrindavan. Thank you. Anyone else?
Vijay, I really like the point that how much we are absorbed in Krishna tells us how much we are progressed. I feel like I don't have anything.
I think we are all on the same boat, Mataji, but we know where to go. So thank you. Okay. Anything else?
I also felt that how rare it is to get admission to the pastimes of Vrindavan, how fortunate we are. Even Shiva can't enter, Lakshmi can't enter, and somehow we're the most lowest people and we somehow get the opportunity. It's like incredible mercy.
So fortunate. Like we don't know why this fortunate. Prabhupada says, I am creating your good fortune. That's what he's doing, He's creating the good fortune for all of us. Otherwise, Brahma can do it. What is our hope? Shiva can, what is our hope? Prabhupada is creating. So we get to see what gift Prabhupada is giving us. That gift which is not accessible to all these personalities, Prabhupada is actually giving to us. We are so fortunate. We are so fortunate. But it's not anything on our part. This Prabhupada is only Prabhupada's mercy. Thank you. Okay.
Prabhuji, I just want to add one thing. Like you said about it's in the translation written about the birds. So it is shown in the Ramayana, like how Jatayu, Lord did the Antevidhi for him, like a father, accepted as a father, and he did Antevidhi. So we can see how Lord has shown the mercy to everyone, even the birds and beasts also.
Nice example, actually. Thank you. Very nice. Okay. Anything else? Okay. So thank you all so much for your kind association. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna. Thank you all so much for your association. Thank you for joining. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much. Hare Krishna. Dandavat
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Pranam,
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna, Prabhuji.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.